Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to a brand new week of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears as we get into UFOs, UFO sightings, contact, UAP, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, Mike Walker is our guest tonight. He may not be a household name, but his experiences are extraordinary, and I love those personalized stories. I know you will too. Let us say hello to Dirty Filth, who's ready to draw up some cartoons for us. And all of you who are here tonight, starting with Race Fan in the gold medal positions. Sugar Britches taking home the silver with Ann B in a bronze medal tonight. Hi, Roy Boy and Michael Morris. Willard Wright, good to see you all. Chris, 716, thanks for coming on in. Hi, Brown Dwarf, good to see you. Les Paul Holland in Australia, nice to have you here, my man. Penny Van, always a pleasure. Laura Lobbs, good to see you. Dave Walters and Kamloops, what's going on, my man? How you doing? As we continue on with roll call, Monica D. Cohen, number 13 in your program, number 1 in your hearts from Stockholm, Sweden. Starting on defense, Lars Janssen. There he is. Daryl Zerline, good to see you. Hi, Kathy Evans. And who else do we have here? We have, scrolling on down, where are we here? Kurt M., nice to have you back. Robert Lamoth, good to see you. Thurston Howell III is here. Thurston will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Nikki in Seattle, Me Woiken, good to see you about. Thin Lizzie, nice to see you, my dear. Thank you for coming on in. And there's Chris. Dean, how you doing? Good to have you back, Spacey Tree. And Pam Harris, thank you so much for kicking off the Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so much. Guy Calgary, how you doing? Guy is going to be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Don't touch his cowboy hat. Yeah, you just don't do that. He will give you a left and right if you do. All right, let's continue on. Hi, Donna. Nice to have you here. Steve Q, welcome to SOR Chat. And Bellennium, my man, good to see you. Tim Mothman, Sea Warrior Son, Dirty Filth in the chat, W. David Page, and Jen A. Nice to see you all. Let's continue on. Hi, Human Carl. Always a pleasure to have you here. Human Carl's a great veteran of the United States Air Force. Thank you so much for your service, Human Carl. As we continue on with roll call, Pixie Lara and Little Timmy Senor, nice to see you both. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start the show. Dark Protocol, thank you for kicking off another week with us. Gizmo, good to see you, guy. And who else do we have here? Scrolling on down. Michael Leger, the Michael Leger has returned. And Brad Ford, nice to see you. Hello, the lovely Sally Elka, nice to see you. All the way from, I don't know, Tasmania or someplace like that. And who else? Susie B, good to see you. Hey, Asteroid. Nancy Thames, Lisa C. Gary Rusin, how you doing, buddy? And The Gong Show, nice to have you here. Richard Elmore, Von Patrick, Super Duke. Good to see you. Hello, lovely Kira. Thank you for coming on in. Noble Patrick and Addie Overbay. Addie, welcome to SOR Chat. Digger Dog, nice to see you. Marlena, thanks for coming on in. Delilah, welcome to Spaced Out Radio's chat room. Don't forget to hit subscribe and a thumbs up if you don't mind. Let's get the radio side started so we can get Bill WD-40 in here to lube us up for tonight's show. He'll be popping in right there above my finger. And Christine Lynn, nice to see you. Jeff Steve Garvey, he'll hit a home run for you. Pat Toohey, Peppa H, Timothy Fellon, Zoria, how you doing? Good to see you all. And let's see who else we got here. We're down to our last 28 seconds. Can we do it? Javier from Cryptid559. How you doing, buddy? Nice to see you. Lee the Bee, Cryptid Huntress. How you doing? Yeah, the mullet. She's ready for the mullet. And Social Dig, Rob G. Nice to see you. And Rono nice to have you here. And you know what? We're going to have to wrap this up because it's that time of the night. Horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, at KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. A power show of personal experience tonight. Mike Walker is here from the San Francisco area to talk about his lifetime of UFO experiences. Then in hour number 3, we're going to head to the swamp, followed up by Tim Senor with a elongated UFO report tonight. Michael Walker is a UFO paranormal experiencer and enthusiast that has passionately been studying the phenomena ever since his first experience in 1985 as a 12-year-old in Hayward, California. That led to him reporting it to MUFON as he had visions following his experience, visions of a wheel within a wheel hovering and spinning above his childhood home, visions of running from a crashing flood at Stonehenge, walking the sands of beached whales, and recurring dreams of being on board saucer-like craft. Listen as he describes in great detail tonight a part of the ship that he became familiar with. This has been a lifetime journey for him. He's still searching for answers. Will he ever get those answers? We don't know. But to hear Michael's story tonight is going to be extraordinary. Michael Walker, thank you so much for meeting us here at Spaced Out Radio. And it was great meeting you a couple weeks ago down at UFO Con in San Francisco, a great event put on by Lori and Fenton. Thank you for being here.
Yes, it was. Thank you for having me, Dave.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you here as well, my man. You know, a lot of people out there wish to see one UFO. That's all they want, just to confirm that there truly is something out there. But for somebody like you, going back to when you were 12 years old, I mean, that's just childhood imagination, man, that all of a sudden becomes an instant reality to something that we're not very used to or even prepared for at that age. Let's go back to when you were 12. What happened there?
Okay, yeah. Back in 1985, I was living on East 11th Street in Hayward, right across the street, literally across the street from my childhood home. We kind of lived with a lot of different people, whoever would basically take us in. My mom was a bartender in the area. But for a brief moment there, we did have our own home, which was literally across the street from the house that I was staying at. It was kind of like a friend of the family The Lopez family kind of took us in at the time, so that's where I was staying. And yeah, it's kind of like a tattoo. Before I get started, it's you get that first tattoo, and then you're already thinking about the next one. So these experiences, it doesn't matter how many you have. It seems like you're always asking for another one. It's almost like a drug. You're like, if I can just get one more, I'll be 100% all in on it. I'll make more sacrifices. It's just amazing what our mind does. But yeah, I've thought that it all started originally back in 1985 when I came walking out the door. I remember opening up that screen door and walking out 28063 East 11th Street. I remember walking out and meeting up with a friend named Chano in the middle of the street. And reflecting on that moment now, it seemed a little odd that we didn't have much conversation. We just kind of bumped into each other literally in the middle of the road by my house, and it was like we were just under the understanding that it was just time to go for a walk around the block. So without much talk, that's exactly what we did. It had just turned dark. I've gauged this moment to be around July at some point, because I remember just being released out of elementary school, and I was looking forward to beginning my junior high school. So it was just kind of the beginning of summer, and it had just turned dark. It was probably about 7:30, 8 o'clock p.m. And as we started walking, I was taking notice of the sky. It was a really beautiful night. The clouds were really bright white. I noticed they were pretty low, and they were moving pretty good too. And I understood that the clouds seemed like they were moving pretty fast because they were low. Nothing out of the ordinary yet. But before we can even make our first little turn around the block, as I'm looking at these pretty white, crisp white clouds, a section of these clouds began to swirl. And I only had a few thoughts that ran through my mind before I completely blacked out. And these thoughts were, is that cloud starting to swirl? Because it was a cool, calculated, crisp swirl. It was not like a natural phenomenon type of swirl. It was a real clean, crisp swirl. And it started off pretty small and very slow. And the next thought in my head was, I'm going to kind of zoom in on that and give it a second look and really study it. And that's exactly what it felt like. I went from, I think those clouds are starting to spin, to, oh my God, they are starting to spin fast. And then I black out.
Oh my.
The next conscious moment that I had, I was no longer standing in that spot. And this took me years to actually figure out. I was over a half a block away. I was displaced over a half a block away, because my very next conscious moment, I am now standing directly beneath a flying saucer. My arms are tucked to the side of my body like a soldier. My head is looking straight up, and I am now looking at the belly of this craft. And it did indeed look like your typical flying saucer, and it was directly above us. I would estimate it was probably maybe 150 feet, maybe higher than the closest telephone pole. But I'm standing there at attention like a soldier, looking straight up. That was my next conscious moment. And as I'm looking up at the belly of this craft, I knew instantly what I was looking at. I've heard of these things. I wasn't really into it, but I knew what it was right away. When I'm looking at the belly of this craft, there's this blue light that is sporadically flashing on the belly. It's all over the place. And every time this little blue light shined or flashed, it would illuminate a certain body of the skin of the belly of the craft. And to me, my initial sight of the skin of this craft was electronical, tubular. I like to compare it to C3PO's stomach in Star Wars. I'm a big Star Wars fan, so that's kind of the only thing I can really think of to. But yeah, really integral, a lot of wiring, tubular. And I remember thinking in my head, because this light was flashing all over the place. To me, it looked sloppy. It looked unbalanced. It just wasn't really easy on the eyes. And I remember thinking, if this is advanced technology that I'm witnessing right now, why does it seem to have some kind of electrical funk? Why does it seem to have some kind of issue? And Dave, soon as I thought that, it snapped out of whatever electrical funk that I thought it was in, and it began to basically, I thought, show off to let me know that it's doing very fine. Don't worry about it. It put on a multicolored light show that was out of this world. I described the lights to be like canned lights. From my perspective, that's what I can imagine, these lights around the perimeter of the edge of the saucer. It wasn't just around the perimeter of the edge of the saucer. The light patterns work their way all the way to the core of this craft and back out.
Can I
And
ask you
when
a quick question,
Sure, yeah.
if you don't mind? This craft, as you're witnessing this, how high above you is this?
It it was about 150 feet probably above the nearest telephone pole. Um but in my line of view, this saucer was blocking everything. I no longer recall seeing sky. I just remember seeing perimeter to perimeter
Right.
of the circumference of this ship.
And where is your buddy at this time?
Okay, so I just assumed, and he was still to my left. He was still to my left. I knew he was still going to be there because that was the last time. Before we blacked out. I said we blacked out. Before I blacked out, well, I'm sure, I really don't know what his experience is, and we'll get into that more because I never asked Channel the right questions, but yeah, I was displaced after I blacked out, and I knew that he was going to be there. So after the craft, did its light show and it did take off, he was there still. But yeah, the light show went on for probably maybe a minute. Every color that you can imagine. I believed that I was looking at all the colors that were available, maybe within our spectrum, maybe even more. Um, and this light show, the patterns, they were very balanced. They were symmetrical. Um, they had a certain rhythm. They started off really slow, kind of just like the vortex in the clouds, and began to get faster and faster and faster. And it got to the point where it looked like one of them old Simon Says video games. Remember those games growing up, Dave?
Yes.
Where you pick the colors. It kind of looked like that, on some
Wow.
super level, some super high level. Because I remember thinking, how am I going to remember all this? And I know what I meant. What I meant when I was thinking that was, I didn't mean how am I going to remember this experience? I know I'm going to remember the experience, but for some reason I remember thinking, how am I going to remember all these light patterns? And it's, reflecting on that moment now, I have different theories. I'm always afraid to etch, anything in stone because I believe that prevents me from learning. I don't want to emotionally attach myself to any one idea. Uh, it's just such a cerebral thing now, reflecting on it as an adult, you know. But the light show did eventually stop, and the craft glided ahead of us a little ways, very smoothly, very slowly, very quietly, didn't make a noise. And now I'm looking at the craft as a whole. I'm no longer looking at the belly. I'm actually looking at it from a little of a distance, and it still appears to be your very typical cylindrical saucer shaped craft. Uh, the bottom pretty much looked like the top. Uh, from my perspective, it didn't have no Jetsons glass bubble on the top, or anything weird about it. It was just very slick and stream, and I'm not sure. I think it may have done a little bit of a wobble before it took off, like near the speed of light. It the speed of this saucer really, really threw me for a loop. Just forget about the vortex in the clouds. Forget about coming to my consciousness standing underneath the flying saucer. The speed in which this thing left, Dave, it was like a cartoon. It was like, this can't be real. None of this. It was just like I experienced a cartoon. That's what I remember thinking, was that was like a cartoon. That was almost comical. Like there's no way that if I would have blinked my eyes, I may have thought that it just disappeared. But I seen it. I seen it go east over the Hayward Hills. It was so smooth and fast. And I've seen that speed before. You know, in some of the footage that I see online and stuff. I've seen that speed, that real slick, near light speed. So after it took off, then I was able to, when I was standing there, I didn't, of course, I didn't think of, I was paralyzed, or, that they had control over me. I just chalked it up to, hey, I heard about these things, and I know they don't last very long. I just didn't want to miss a moment. So that's what I was kind of chalking it up to my head. That's why I can't move, because I don't want to miss, that's kind of what I was thinking in my head. So after it left, I immediately stopped looking up, and I went down and I went straight to my left, because that was the last place Chano was. And sure enough, Chano was standing there to my left. And the first words out of my mouth was, "That was a UFO, huh?" And Chano goes, "Yeah." And that was a whole nother shock of its own to me. His reaction was so nonchalant. It's like he wasn't interested in it. It wasn't impressive or something. I just didn't get it. The thing that I did get right away was, it's very uncomfortable to talk about it with this guy right now. And it took me a while to leave him alone, but I finally got to the point where it was almost embarrassing to bring it up, because junior high school started and I was a bit of a class clown. That didn't really work to my advantage, being a little bit of a class clown, for people to take me serious when I wanted to share my experience. So I would gather a few friends around that really didn't believe me, because I'm just a clown. And I would say Chano was with me. So they would go, Chano was a little bit more of a serious guy. He was into football, and I know his family was a little bit more religious and things like that. So they would go, "Oh, okay." So they would hear me out. But when we would track Chano down, all I could get out of Chano was a validation, but it wasn't enough for me or them. I could just tell it was, "Man, Mike, you're still talking about that?" And I would go, "Yeah, it's so surprising that you would, think that I'm going to stop talking about this. Like it's just some phase we're going through here. I have a feeling I'm going to be talking about this the rest of my life." And I am. But like I said, it just got to the point where I was almost too embarrassed to even bring it up anymore. So I pretty much let him go. I let him off the hook as far as, bringing it up all the time. And as a matter of fact, I kind of left it all alone for a while. It was much easier for me to just fall back into your okey doke social programming.
We got about 5 minutes to go here before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Mike Walker is our guest tonight. Your friend here, I mean, you're trying to approach him to kind of try and get some answers, but we've heard this story so many times where the secondary party now wants nothing to do with it. They're frightened, they're scared, they're angry. They don't want anything to do with this story. Is that what you were getting from your friend Chono?
Yeah, and as a 12-year-old, I really regret, asking the most very basic questions, other than just trying to get a validation of a yes or no answer out of him. I really wish I wasn't so selfish with the questioning. It was more to validate me, and I really wish I would have asked him, "What did you experience, Chano?" What did you experience? And the thing is, Dave, is I left out the vortex portion of my experience for many years because I really felt that that would discredit my UFO experience. Um, it made me think, what's next, Mike? You jumped on Nessie and rode her, you know, like I just felt like it discredited because it was so confusing. That was the most confusing part of my experience was this vortex in the clouds. Um, Chano actually lives in San Leandro, the same town I'm in, which is like a town and a half away from Hayward. It's weird. Everyone from Hayward seems to end up moving to San Leandro. I haven't ran into him, and maybe someday, because our story's not complete quite yet. I still, would like to be regressed at some point. I do have some naturally surfaced memories that I believe I do have, but as far as regression is concerned, it's still on the table. I just want to be careful and make sure I do the right. It's the right time for it.
I want to ask you with 3 minutes to go here. The idea that you are staring up at this craft, you don't know how long you've been gone, you're in a different area, you're kind of frozen. Are you in a populated area while this is happening? Could there have been other eyewitnesses watching what was happening to you?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I remember thinking, after it left, that I was going to be approached by one of the neighbors across the street. I thought they were going to come swinging off the balconies and, holy cow, did you guys see that? Nothing, nothing like that at all. Yes, it was starting to get dark, but it was just a regular neighborhood. And, uh, I really believe it's a huge misconception. A lot of people think you need to go out to Area 51, a desert or top of a mountain to experience UFOs. But the fact is, it's such a high advanced technology that it's like magic to us. These people are being taken through walls. When anything near these craft could be affected, they're able to manipulate space, time. They're so advanced that there's no way we could label any of it. You know.
No, and I get you there. I truly do get you. And the idea that here you are having this magnificent experience with your friend, and nobody is there to even, you know, confirm with what you're saying. I mean, it was almost like time stood still all around you
Right.
in order for you to have this experience and the rest of the neighborhood to be obtuse to what was going on.
Yeah, it really is to whom the experiencer. I've heard these stories too, where, four people experience the same thing, but you get four different stories. It's to whom the experiencer. It's so cerebral. Um, a lot of people suggest that maybe it wasn't for him, it was for me. I thought maybe it wasn't for me, maybe it was for him. Because I don't remember. There's time that's missing there. I didn't have to be home by a certain time. So there was no curfew for me. I could walk into Lopez family and no one would ever question me. So, yeah.
Well, you know what? We're going to uh, go to break here at the bottom of the hour in just about 30 seconds. And I really want to get back into Chono's attitude towards this because I think that plays a very large part in what many people go through when they become experiencers. We lose friends. We lose people who all of a sudden don't trust us because of the experience that we had. Maybe, we had the devil within us to bring this out into sight and form. I mean, but there's a lot of excuses out there, Mike, that
Yeah.
people use because they don't want to admit that they've seen what they've seen. And
Right.
we're going to get into that so much more here from the San Francisco Bay Area. Our guest tonight, Michael Walker, experiencer of UFOs. We're going to learn more about his story and his friendship that seemed to die off right after a UFO experience in 1985. We'll be back in the second half hour next on Spaced Out Radio. All right, we are clear, man. That's a good start. That's a really good start. You having fun?
Yeah, heck yeah. I'm
Good.
telling you, most of the anxiety is just making sure that I get on the program. I've done, a lot of shows, but it's happened to me a couple times, a couple of big shows that I was really looking forward to and booked
Mhm.
way in advance, which I think adds to the anxiety. You're waiting months for it,
Oh
and
yeah.
computer problems, technology, it's ruined a couple of really good interviews, possible interview. But so yeah, I'm always afraid of that because I know that your show is really big. You worked your show up to 2 hour show. I mean, and I've seen a lot of your guests, and yeah, so that's why I was just a little bit nervous. But as far as telling my experience, I'm getting better and better at it for sure. I'm learning more.
Well, that's great.
It's therapeutical. It really is.
It is. It is. And the importance of talking about these subjects are so important as well. I mean, that way we just have the ability to really, you know, advance what we know and what we can learn from other people who've had their own experiences as well. I mean, it's a real family out there if you allow it to be. It really is.
And sometimes it could be the only family. My wife is not 100% on board with I with what I believe truly happened to me, but we'll get into that. That is a big part of my experience actually, because when I finally came to her and told her that I believe I was abducted, I mean, it was a little too much for her, and I could see it in her eyes, and it really did break my heart. And I did a lot of praying, and the praying did come true. Something did happen. We did have an experience together. That's what I was hoping would happen someday, and I really thought that it would make things just so much easier, to have my wife completely on board because she's had an experience right alongside me. Um, but we can get into that more,
Yeah,
Dave, if you'd
we'll get
like
into
after
a
the
lot
break.
more.
Yeah.
We'll get into a lot more once we come back from break here. I'm just kind of monitoring our chat room here. They're loving you so far, man. They are loving you. This is what I said. I mean, our audience really likes the big
Personal ones.
time researchers, but they love the personal experiencers, man. They love that. Dirty Filth, let's take a look at what you're working on down there, big guy. What do we got happening here? Looks like a little Men in Black type of scenario tonight.
Yep. I see the little
Sometimes you need a
almond
gentle
eyes.
reminder.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like a blob right now, but it turns out pretty good later.
Oh, I'm sure it will, buddy. Sure it will. Derek Galloway, thank you, along with Pam H, for the amazing super chats. The super chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so much, my man. Appreciate it. Pam H as well, because you're pretty awesome, Pam H. Not everybody could be a Pam Harris, but you are an amazing Pam Harris. Amazing Pam Harris. So, okay, so it looks like we have an easel and some shag carpet. Or is that hardwood?
It's definitely hardwood, Dave.
You look more of a shag carpet kind of guy.
I got cats. Can't have carpets.
True. True. All right. Deb from SAC, thank you for the beautiful super chat. Appreciate that, Deba. Ed Clater, how you doing, buddy? Got a good crowd so far.
Don't forget, if you come to Vegas, I will give you cartoons.
Yes. If you haven't, we got 244 watching. If you could do us a tiny little favor, we'd appreciate it. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell. We are here 7 days a week. I'm here Monday through Friday. Jessica Jones in the Off the Trails, and then Marquise Williams and his team for After Hours on Saturday and Sunday. We keep you going all the time because we love it here. And if you could give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumb sideways, and after the show, leave a comment. That really helps with our algorithms as we try to build this channel into a powerhouse of woo for all of you. A powerhouse of woo. Yes, because we love it here. All right. So if you could help us out, that would be wonderful. And I hope you're enjoying tonight's show. And if you are not in the chat room on YouTube, come on in. Let us know where you're from. We like to know everything. Here we go, the second half hour. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading the news wire, checking out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our guest tonight is Mike Walker. He's from the San Francisco area. Met him a couple weeks ago at UFO Con. And he's like, Dave, I got a great story for you. That'd be great. And so far, if you missed the first half hour of this show, talking about an experience he had in 1985 when he was just 12 years old, is absolutely worth re-listening to. Mike, thank you so much for being with us here, my man.
Awesome. Of course.
All right. So let's get into it. Your buddy Chono, am I pronouncing that correct?
Chano.
Chano, okay. Here he is. You and him have this experience. It's getting dark. You guys are just kind of meandering the streets like young kids do right before they get the whistle or the yell to come on home in for the night. And you know what? We've all been there at that age. Maybe not today's generation, but back then, that's the way it was done. You know, I was 12 years old in 1985 as well. So I know what that's all about. So the idea behind this is your friend Chano had this experience with you, but it scared him. And it scared him to the point where it affected your friendship. Let's get into that a little bit because you guys were tight. You guys were best buds.
Okay, so not necessarily best buds. My best friend actually lived in the house that we actually had to move out of across the street, the 28080, my actual childhood home that we had for a moment. When we moved out, there was a family that moved in, and I became best friends with the family that moved in. My best friend at the time was named Francisco Macias. Chano was a good friend of mine, and he was like a few houses down to my left from my left. But yeah, after that happened, it was kind of like we experienced a little too much. This is my thoughts on it. Our subconscious is so powerful. I'm sure you're very well aware of that. And you know, our subconscious is the most powerful. You know, it's more powerful than what we're dealing with right now, talking between me and you. I think that whatever we experienced within our subconscious was just too much. It was just too much. And after experiencing something like that, it's like you can't put your finger on it because it's locked away in your subconscious. But your subconscious is so powerful, you know that there's just something's not right. So I think it just leaves you at an uncomfortability type of level. Or sometimes I compare it to I call it the night after. It's kind of a silly way to compare it, but let's say you meet somebody, a first date, and you guys go out and you just go too far the first night. You leave nothing to be desired. You go all the way. You've gone too far, and then you kind of have that awkward next day, with whoever you dated. Like you either call them or you don't call them because it's kind of awkward because you guys shared something really passionate, together. It's kind of like that. It's kind of a silly, some people like to laugh when I compare it to that, but that's what it kind of feels like. It kind of feels like the night after. We experienced way something way too far within our subconscious is what it feels like to me. And I've had some people say, Mike, that wasn't even for him, it was for you. Of course it wasn't impressive. If you would have asked him what he experienced, he may have very well just experienced the very tail end of what we both saw. He may not even recall the vortex in the clouds. But to me, it took us both. I think it took us both because, I mean, how else did he get? He was right there. He was still to my left. Now we're facing the north. When we left, we're facing south. We haven't even hit that first turn. So I knew, my left is where Chano was at, and it didn't matter what direction I was heading. I came to. He was there. I think it took us both. Who knows? Maybe we witnessed each other at some point. Going through whatever the things that they do. The whole medical table examination, where we're like animals and we're thinking we're going to be killed, and they're trying to calm us down. They could be repairing our DNA. They could be doing anything, research for them. I really don't know exactly yet. But I thought that this was my original, my first experience that I had. But reflecting on it now and learning what I've learned now, and learning of the screen memories and things like that, then that really explained the ghost that I thought I had experienced 2 years before 1985. So that would have made me 10 years old. If you want me to get into that
Yeah,
experience.
we can get into that in just a little bit. I'm more interested in Chano here
Okay.
for a quick second, because I mean, this is a guy who has gone silent, and your friendship pretty much ended that day. Do you think, in looking back, and I know you've probably played out these scenarios hundreds of times in your head, if not thousands, because we all do, us who are experiencers. Do you think that maybe the reason why he maybe pulled away from you that entire event was because maybe he had more recall than what you think, and he knows what happened?
No, I personally think he was just embarrassed to be talking about something so kooky. You know what I mean? I
That
wasn't
makes
afraid. I was a clown. I really didn't care too much about what people thought. And going into the Lopez family house, after it happened, I told two people that were in the home, and they just smiled at me, and I knew right away this isn't going to be easy. Of course, I understood right away. Seeing is definitely believing, and there's no way they're going to believe me. So, um, yeah, I got
how
jaded.
how quickly did you realize that this was going to be a scenario where you weren't believed? I mean, what happened right after that? So obviously Chano eventually goes home, you go home. What happens there?
Okay, so after I said that was a UFO, huh? And he goes, "Yeah." I don't think I asked him anything. I don't even think we talked about it. We just continued our walk around the block, and as we made our final turn for the home stretch, we see Chano's older brother Peter and some of Peter's friends hanging out in front of Chano's house. So I figured, well, if Chano's not impressed by, I'm gonna try to let these guys. I'm gonna tell these guys. I'm gonna share my experience with these guys, and I did. So we walked right up to them all, and I said, "Hey guys, we just seen a UFO." And one of the kids says, "Yeah, we did too. It went that way." And he actually pointed to the east towards the Hayward Hills. And I was, for a split second, Dave, I was I believed him. I was like, "Oh wow," but it didn't take long before I realized he was just messing with me. He was just kidding. There was nothing to get happy about, and I just kind of put my head down. Chano didn't fight for it. He didn't chime in. I just kind of put my head down and walked into the house, and really wish that I could have shared it with somebody that would have believed me. But I totally understood that it wasn't going to be very easy.
No, I could see that. Did you end up talking to your parents about it?
Uh, yeah. That's funny. I can't remember the very next moment I had with my mom. That's a good question. But yeah, growing up, I would always talk about it to my mom, to my dad, and of course, she believed me. I did get a lot of "I'm sure you believe that's what you saw" type of thing.
Oh, I hate
Or sometimes people suggest that it's all in your head, and we're programmed, like, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that it's all in my head. But you know what, Dave, now that I'm older and I've really been studying this phenomenon, it may very well be a lot more in our head than I thought. You know what I mean? Just by saying it's all in your head suggests you're just making it up. But in reality, what's in our head is something that's still being understood by scientists. The communication, the third eye, the pineal gland, the most attacked part of our body. These things that I know are real. Now I know they are real because we can get into it later, but the pineal gland is something that I believe that I was using, and it was hot at one moment. When I was 21, I was using it. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what to call it. But now I reflect on it, and it was either APN, astral projection, or it was remote viewing. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was popping into these random places. This was in the Navy when I was 21. So I'm not saying that I got any kind of superpowers, because I firmly believe that we're all born very powerful. I think we're born with a lot more senses than we're led to believe. And if anyone has any extra senses, they call it ESP. It's like an extra sensory perception, right?
right.
It's like right there, we're programmed to think anything more than sight, sound, taste, anything that doesn't put money into, I don't want to get into rabbit holes or anything, but there's really no money into, let's say, you and I healing ourselves, or exploring the astral realm with our third eye, and learning things about our history, and our ancestors and things like that. I think the UFO experience may have rekindled or kind of revamped everything. I think they may take care of a few things, like, all in one shot, since this kind of stuff just doesn't happen every day. Um, but yeah, I think it's a matter of use it or lose it. As far as all these ESP, I think we all have it. I think we're all very, very powerful, more powerful than we're led to believe, for sure.
Now, the way this experience changed you, how long do you think you were gone? Number one, but number two, what was the game plan, or what was your plan to investigate this as a 12-year-old coming out of this?
I had nowhere to go. I believe, I don't know, for some reason I want to say an hour and 45 minutes. I don't know who I think I am by guessing that, but just under 2 hours is what I feel like uh, that I was missing. I really don't know. I still have a lot of work to do, as far as regression and things like that.
Have you had any recall whatsoever of what may have happened, or any
Yeah.
flashbacks, or potential dreams?
Oh gosh. So Dave, it's the dreams that follow the experience. Um, these dreams, I finally became brave enough to call them what I believe what they truly were. Some of these dreams, I believe, were actually visions. My first dream that I had, that I could not get out of my head, that was so real, so lucid, um, something I couldn't get out of my mind. I just chalked it up as a dream, though, for many years. And it was me standing on the carport of my 28080 original childhood home. And I'm standing on my carport, and I'm facing the house, and I'm looking up at the little peak of the house. And there it was two rings, one ring going towards me like this in a bold medium pace. And then there was another one within that ring that was going the opposite direction. and it was kind of dark, kind of bronzy looking, nothing bright and flashy. Um, it was hovering and it was floating above the peak of my old childhood home. And I remember that this was after my UFO experience. And the only reason why I remember for sure that it was after my UFO experience is because I initially thought into my head that this wheel within the wheel, which I didn't call, I didn't know what the heck that was. It didn't impress me because I had just seen a UFO. And a UFO puts on a multicolored light show and it takes off like the speed of light. So I know what a UFO looks like. This was just two rings just spinning and hovering. It was impressive enough to try to share it with people in my dream. So I tried to share it with these people. Nobody could hear me. Nobody could feel me when I go to approach somebody. No one could feel me. I felt all alone. I truly wanted to share the two rings. I wanted someone else to see this, but no one would see it. So this dream stuck with me for a really long time. I watched the movie Contact with Jodie Foster. I got a little triggered there when I seen the type of device that she got into to go visit her father that had passed away. I got really emotionally wrapped up into that. But it wasn't until as recent as an Ancient Aliens episode where they were discussing Ezekiel's vision of God, and how there's kind of an argument there in ufology about what exactly Ezekiel, because I was never too religious, but I was forced to look into Ezekiel and his vision of the wheel within the wheel, and it just became a little bit too real for me, and I knew that had to have been something to it. I don't know if it's the experience of the UFO that programmed these thoughts into my head. It's very confusing. It's quite a contrast. Here I am, awakeningly, lucidly, experiencing the UFO, but then now I'm having these dreams that are way more interesting to me, and seems to have more of a lasting effect than the actual physical UFO experience. It's these dreams that I had. I learned of the Ophanim, Ophanim. A lot of people, aren't really into the hierarchy of angels, but I found this wheel within the wheel within the angel hierarchy, and they're ranked 3 underneath the seraphim and the cherubim. They call them, I believe, Dave, many things. They call it the Ophanim. They call it the wheel within the wheel. I believe they call it the Merkabah. I believe they call it the spirit's chariot. I believe it could be a representation of orbs that you see either on Ghost Adventures or anything paranormal. Sometimes these orbs are even in the sky. I get white orbs. They monitor me. I've captured them on film. I've experienced even a black orb. I've got a clear, crisp picture of a black orb. This
That's
Ophanim, yeah, this Ophanim, I really wanted to put this angel on the map because nobody I talked to has ever heard of this particular angel. This is considered a biblically accurate angel. So this is what it's turned into me after the UFO experience so far, Dave, is it's gotten more biblical to me. Not necessarily the Bible that they're trying to push, but something to it. There's something to it, and that's what got me more into older things like the Book of Enoch, the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Emerald Tablets. It's like I can find a little bit more of pieces of truth here and there than taking a Bible that someone said, okay, here, this is how we're going to run it right here. I know that anything good gets weaponized, and I know what's going on. I'm awake, just like a lot of people are awake today, and we have major trust issues in all aspects of my life. I have major trust issues now. It's hard for me to trust anything. And but we still got to keep our vibration up. We really do.
The idea that this happened at 12 years old, and it affected you the way it did. How did that change your childhood? How did that change who you became rather than what you wanted to become?
Well, it's beneficial in a sense where, when life would get me down, I'd get stressed out about things. I would always have this moment to reflect on, and there was a sense of happiness, because to me it's like it would be so boring, of a life. Unfortunately, not everybody can experience something like this, right? Um, Fortunately, I started hitting these awakenings through this experience, and when people tell you, oh, everything that you've ever, learned was a lie, I found that really hard to believe. Originally, I was like, how are you going to lie about everything? Who's going to lie about everything? I mean, not everything. There's something. And the older I get, the more I'm like, wow, they were right. Everything really is turned upside down, topsy turvy. It really is. But it affected me in a sense where I just got jaded and tired of trying to convince people, because that's all I felt like I was doing. Every once in a while I'd get someone that I trusted, and I would vent, and they believed me, but that's as far as it would go. I just left it alone, Dave. Basically, I left it alone until the internet came out, and I started reading more and more personal stories, and the groups started coming, and I jumped into every swinging group that I could, and realized the bigger the group, not the better. The smaller the group, the better quality. And so finally, about 5 years ago, I created my own private group called UFO, Paranormal UFO, California. And I've met some really outstanding, beautiful people, and relationships that are going to be a lifetime. And we share our commonalities, and it's just, it is like another family, because in some cases that is the only family an experiencer has, live in the duality of an experiencer. I used to have conversations with experiencers, and I'm outside because I'm embarrassed, for my wife to hear me, talking about some of this stuff.
Okay, I got to ask you with 2 minutes to go here before we got to go to break at the top of the hour. You've mentioned this a couple of times about your wife, not really believing, even though you and her have had an experience. Is she just afraid of the subject? Doesn't understand the subject?
A little bit of everything, probably. I believe it's just a little too much. She thinks that I had enough time to think about it. You know what I mean? In other words, I had enough time to make up. She thinks I made it up. I had enough time to research and to come up with these ideas, like, what, I think that's what happened to me. Like, it all came way too real for me at just a matter of 3 years ago, Dave, is when I really started going full forward with this stuff, and really discussing with other experiencers, and just trying to learn more and more about this phenomenon. And I don't expect to learn everything probably this lifetime. It might take a few lifetimes, but I think what we're doing now, the light work that I consider that we do, is at least planting the seed for the future. Because I think that's where we're headed. It's going to be more of a cerebral. We've been hearing it our whole lives, that thought is powerful. Words are even more powerful. But if you're being programmed to think sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me, that's not true. Words do hurt. Thought is powerful, and once you take that thought and convert it into the word, into sound, which is where it all started, I believe, it hurts. It really does hurt. It does take a toll on you, and there's no one really to help you. You can't get post-traumatic. You can't go to the doctors and hey, I am post-traumatic. I'm not from the war or anything. It's from a UFO experience. Like, we don't get to do that. Maybe in the future, I think real soon we may, be able to do that. But growing up, we were on our own as an experiencer, and we were left to look silly, and there was something wrong with us.
All right, Mike, I'm going to get you to hold on right there as we are through 1 hour here on Spaced Out Radio. 1 hour to go with our guest tonight, Mike Walker, experiencer of UFOs. We're going to learn more about his other experiences when we return. This is a real deal. People having their own true experiences and discussing it with you tonight on Spaced Out Radio. All right, my man, we are clear. We're going to take a quick break here. We're going to turn things over to Mr. Dirty Filth, who can draw the hell out of that cartoon.
Oh,
yeah, buddy, looking good.
It's upside down right now.
I'll be right back.
I gotta get to the.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay, that's. Yeah.
It's just easier to paint that way when I get to certain spots.
Yeah. Right. I think I'll step out for a second too. I'll keep my mic on.
Yeah, because if you get abducted by aliens, we got to hear you going up to the portal.
Wow, that's funny you say that. That's funny, yeah. I was doing a chat with a friend of mine in Orlando. He was actually my cousin, and he was telling me, that he kept seeing this light in the sky, and I'm like, well, put the video on and let's do a live thing or whatever, So he started doing a lot of shooting of this object in the sky while I was on the phone with him via, I could see too, and he could see me. And it's funny because there was a couple of these videos that he sent me that had some timestamp discrepancies and some really odd audio. I don't plan on sharing any of this tonight, but this audio.
We're still live on YouTube though.
Oh, okay, very well.
So just nobody pretend you heard
save
any of
it.
that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll just have to bring you back on the show, I guess. Well, maybe you got abducted by aliens. Get my little Man in Black zapper and make sure you guys have a good look and zap. There you go. You don't remember the last 10 minutes. Yes. Anyways, come to Las Vegas, get cartoons from me, and then if I ever get abducted by aliens, you can sell it on eBay for lots of money. Also, Merle will be there, and we can run around and just be like Merle and just troll the entire Las Vegas with chants of Merle. And we'll probably get kicked out of Vegas forever and banned. Then we'll blame Merle. He's not even here to defend himself.
So my initial thought was a self-portrait type of thing, but now I'm starting to really come together.
Well, it's definitely a gentleman in black for sure.
And I totally thought I seen some almond eyes, like your typical gray alien, on the actual canvas, but that has not turned. It's not what I thought it was going to be at all.
It's always a mystery when I'm doing this stuff. I hardly even know what I'm doing. I just start drawing and it just kind of works its way out.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's got a little bit of a patriotic.
It's a alphabet company name, probably. I can't really just use like company names and stuff because I'm got a lawyer or anything. And if they ever decide to come after me, and
Right.
actually, you know, if I ever did, I'd be like, "Oh, how about I just give you the painting?" And then it'd be at
Yeah, right.
some weird place in the world.
All right. I am back looking good, Dirty.
Yeah, I just gotta wait for the water to dry. I've slopped all over the
Oh, it's
thing.
done. He's not even close to being done yet.
Gotta put the ink on it next.
Jerry and Jenny C., welcome to SOR Chat. Hope you're enjoying it. Thank you for coming on in. Where are you from? And do we have a Merle sighting? Is that why there's a Merle yelling in the background?
It's a long story, Dave.
Did you mention Merle?
There could be a possibility.
You never go wrong with that. You still haven't done a Merle cartoon.
I've done like 6 Merle cartoons.
I don't remember. I don't
It was
remember.
1,000 years ago.
It was 1,000 years ago. A big thank you tonight to Pam H., Derek, Deb, Kira, and Dry Toast. Best name on YouTube for the amazing super chats. Remember, if you're planning on coming to our Vegas party this May 19th through 21st, get your tickets now at spacedoutradio@gmail.com. Here we go.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Make that the Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Foteo is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Hour number 2 with our great guest tonight, Mike Walker. He is from the San Francisco Bay Area, and he is talking about his personal experiences with UFOs and the paranormal. It is something that is right out of this world when it comes to what is going on and what people are experiencing. Yeah, we all say we'd love to have an experience, but sometimes you just don't get the answers that you really want. Mike, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me once again.
A little bit later in the show, we'll get to some audience questions. I want to ask you, in regards to this event that happened when you were 12 and the fact that you have very little recall, would you undergo hypnotherapy to find out what's going on?
I'm at the point where I believe I would.
And what do you hope to gain from that?
There's time there there's I've thought about this and I've been warned. Are you sure? You know, you want to find out. Are you sure? And I think I get it. I really do. The memories that may surface during a regression may be frightful because I was, I could have very well have been, very frightened at the moment. Just like I was saying earlier, when we capture animals and we're trying to, put devices on them and check them out, that poor animal, doesn't know that what's going on, so it's kind of like the same thing with us. So maybe you would tap into those fears and things like that, but I think it would be worth it. There's some time missing, and I really want it filled in at some point, but I'm in no rush. I want to do it right. And when my gut says it's time, then I'm gonna go ahead and follow that gut, because it's gotten us here, and I'm happy where I'm at right now, so I can't complain. But yeah, it's definitely on the table. It's something I look forward to doing at some point.
Now, did the UFO experiences continue for you, or was this a one and done?
So it was quiet for a real long time. Um, it's weird. It's like if I let it go in my head, then I just didn't see or feel or sense anything. But then when my brain started going again, like, no, come on, Mike, there's something to this, because if you talk to somebody long enough, they'll convince you that you didn't see it. You know what I mean? And the environment that I was in, it wasn't, no one was going to believe as far as I went with what possibly happened to me from what I believe happened to me.
So, how long was it between UFO sightings for you?
So it was a really, really long time, actually. It went from 12 years old to, oh man, probably 2020 is actually, when everyone was staying home, and the beginning of COVID. That's when I had a lot more time to myself, and really started diving into it and listening to more and more experiences from other people. And I just started gaining more and more confidence, like, yep, no, come on, no, there's something to this. And you would think, just because you had somebody with you, that it was a blessing. It was a blessing to have some sort of validation that something happened that night, even though the guy doesn't want to talk about it. At least there's some sort of validation. But you know what? It still wasn't good enough for me. So I did slip back into the social programming and just kind of left it alone. Sure, I shared my story whenever I felt, but I was never really looking up, thinking about, man, it's going to happen again. I'm going to go out looking for it. I just never really looked for it. But when I decided to be kind of more all back in, that's when you started noticing. I started noticing a lot more beautiful synchronicities and messages from, I really don't know where, but I'm getting messages.
Right. And you're getting messages to look up, correct?
Well, I don't have that. I've heard of people say, for some reason, something just told me to go outside and look up. I do that all the time. Every time I go, I'm a sky watcher. I'm always looking at the sky. I'm a cloud watcher. I take pictures of clouds. I love it. I'm always looking up. But there was a moment there, a long span of where I wasn't really into it that much. It was really only within the last few years that I've been making this. I call it a paranormal push. Like, I'm just gonna do this. And It's fairly therapeutic for me to relive this experience, and I'm getting more and more comfortable with it. Um, I'm at the point now where, maybe I could help others, because there is still a lot of people that don't want to talk about it, and are in far worse situations than I was in my household, as far as, my wife is concerned. I can do these shows and stuff now. You've seen her in the background before the show started. It's okay. I don't feel, crazy or silly doing this anymore in front of her. Um, but still, I can still only go so far, with her,
Yeah.
even though, we
And
had.
you and your wife had an experience.
So yeah, when I finally uh told my wife that I believe, because we've been married for years. I was 19 when I met her. She was 17. We've been together. We've been married for over 30 years. We have two grown boys, and she's always known that I've had a UFO experience. I don't know if she thought maybe it was one of them. Hey, Billy, I think I seen a UFO over the mountaintop over there. I don't think she realizes how close and personal this experience truly was. And for me to suggest, when I finally did, that I believe it was more than a sighting. I believe I was abducted. I could see it in her eyes. Um, it really broke my heart. It really did, because I can read it in her eyes, and she really didn't believe me, and she believed that I had just way too much time to think of this. You know what I mean? Like I had too much time to make up this story through my investigations of other experiencers and learning more of the phenomenon. She thinks that I'm just adding to it, for some reason. So what I did was I prayed. I mean, it wasn't such a a religious kind of a prayer. It was just putting the thought out there with my heart, and with the intentions. I said, uh, if it's in the cards, I go, I would really appreciate having an experience with my wife, because I really felt that it would make things better. I'm so passionate about it, and I didn't want to go through life with something that I'm so passionate about if I can't share comfortably being myself around the woman I love, the woman that I married. So I kind of forgot about it for a while, and then just last year, July 21st I believe it was 9:15 p.m. Maybe it was 9:30 p.m. We were outside having a smoke, and it had just turned dark. And guess what? It was also July, which seems to be coming up a lot. Not just in my case, but a lot of experiencers' cases. It seems like it's really hot in July for UFO activity. So, July 21st, it just gotten dark. We're outside having a smoke, and I see this light coming from the north, from the right to the left. And when I seen it, I got a little excited, but I didn't want to embarrass myself in front of my wife. So this is how I played it out. I said, "Whoa, what kind of drone is that?" That's how I kind of played it off.
Yeah.
We know what drones look like in the neighborhood. They do throw me off for a split second, but it doesn't take very long before you realize, it is a drone. It's returning back to its owner. They don't go too far. They're very robotic in their movement, limited with the colors that they can display. Because trust me, I went online looking for the most advanced drones out there before I, really started going with this. But so this craft, it had like an amber hue to the tip of it, almost like the tip of a candle or something. It had like a hue to it, and it was coming towards us. And we were both. I said, "What kind of drone is that?" And she's looking at it, and we're both kind of like, wow." And as it starts to go overhead, I noticed that it's rolling, spinning, flipping. At some point, Dave, I thought maybe it was even shape shifting. I just couldn't get my eye on this vehicle, on this craft. I couldn't get a solid look of this craft, and it was coming overhead. And as it was directly overhead, I'm looking up at it, and it illuminated a pattern of white lights for me. And it came from within one of the ring. It was like a ring. It was like the inside of a ring. I see this light pattern. It was 4 dots, 4 white dots, very bright, very beautiful, bright lights. 4 rows of 4 white dots. And at the end of each row of 4 dots was a white line that looked like the beginning of a dot, but it wasn't. It went longer. And so it was circle, 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 and then a line. So I have a friend named Dr. Angel Thacker that I co-host with on Paranormal Fridays, the show that I do, and she's kind of like my guru, and always kind of pushing me and helping me. But she's always saying, "What's the message here?" We always get wrapped up in the experience, and we don't take time to actually stop and go, "What's the message here?" And I was telling myself, I go, "What's the message here?" I go, "Well, let's start with Morse code. Let's try Morse code." So I go online and I look up what the white dot, white dot, white dot, white dot, white line, dot 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 line, dot dot dot. I look it up, and I'm expecting to find something along the lines of, "Hi, hello, we're here," something spelled out.
Right.
And in fact, what I found was this pattern was numbers, and the number that it displayed to me was 444. So I look up 444, and of course, it's a repeating. It's an angelic number, and the description for 444 is your guardian angels are strong with you. You're right on track. Things that you have been working for are starting to fruit. Things are going to happen. This is the time. Get ready. You're on track. Trust your angels. Everything that I needed to hear, and it made so much sense to me. And that message was for me. It really was. I'm brave enough at this point to set that in stone. That was a message for me. And once again, did I just experience the wheel within the wheel? But this time, it wasn't a dream or a dream. It wasn't a vision. It was an actual physical experience that I had with my wife. So I did pull out my phone, but it was an afterthought. And I knew I wasn't going to capture this mind-blowing evidence. That's what it wasn't about that. To me, pulling out the phone after it went overhead and started passing me up, me pulling out the phone was basically kind of like trying to catch the license plate of the car that almost hit me. I just wanted to remember it. I knew it wasn't going to be this mind-blowing footage. And sure enough, it wasn't. It was just another light in the sky that you see hundreds of videos of, where people are really excited because they know what they've seen, but the footage is just a light in the sky. And if you're not there, it's tough to buy. It's tough to buy that. But I do have the footage of it. It's not very good. I know a certain point of the video where I can see it actually still rolling, because at the moment I didn't realize what it was doing. It wasn't until me and my wife went upstairs, and I'm sitting here drawing pictures of it because I want to share it with my group right away. So I'm drawing a picture because I learned my lesson, right? Next time I have an experience, I'm gonna, ask the right questions. I'm gonna write stuff down, and so that's what I was doing. And my wife looked at what I was drawing, and she circled two of the four lights, the circled lights of the pattern. She circled two lights, and she took my pen out of my hand, and she circled two lights, and she said, "That's what I seen." And that's when I realized, she didn't see the whole, lit message. She just caught two of them. And she told me something, Dave, that blew me away. She said it kind of reminded her of Saturn. And I said, "Well, what do you mean it reminded you of Saturn?" And she goes, "Well, Saturn, it has the ring around it, and then there was something going on." And it finally hit me. I was like, "You mean like the wheel within the wheel?" And I look at my crystal table where I do my crystal gridding, and all these crystals that are on my table. In the center of my crystal grid, I have a wheel within the wheel. It's something that I created myself, and I just happen to have it in the center of my crystal grid, which is my energy table, which I sleep next to every night. And I told myself, "What do you expect, man? You wished for this. You really did. You prayed for this, and it happened." And you know what? She's not going to go run out and join, paranormal UFO. She's not going to run out and become a ufologist, but it is something that we can talk about. It's something that's on the table now. It's something that we could talk about, because she's seen a ghost. She's experienced the paranormal in her life as a child. She's experienced a ghost in her childhood home. And I just think that's just so funny, how we could be so prejudiced within the paranormal, when I feel like they both share a real common denominator. I really think that they share a real thin part of the electromagnetic spectrum. I really do.
Yeah, and I don't really blame you for all of that, because I mean, look, you're just trying to figure out what is going on, and how you are supposed to to really take care of yourself and learn, because that's how we learn about all of this, is by asking questions and talking to experiencers and everything that kind of mixes in between that. For you, as you kind of move on with this, and you're in this loving relationship with your wife for a long time now, I mean, was there anything compatible that you were able to kind of agree upon?
After we had the experience together,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I believe her attitude is, yeah, of course there's extra life out there. Of course there's UFOs, but there's a lot of work to be done here and now. She's a really task-oriented person. She's really good mother. She's raised two really sweet boys, and she works really hard. And sometimes she thinks that I spend a little too much time playing, on this side, and she believes that it's almost kind of like a phase that she's waiting for me to get through. So she will admit that she believes in this kind of stuff, and she'll even say, "Of course, this stuff, but there's work to be done here, and it's really a distraction." And I just can't get away from it. It is a big distraction. It's something that I'm really passionate about. Um, to me, it trumps everything else that's going on in my world. It really does. It's
And I
something.
understand that. Talk about, we got about 3 minutes left here. Let me get to a quick question here from our audience. Let's go to Bogan here, who is asking, Mike, do you see apparitions, creatures, plants, etc. after seeing orbs?
No, not necessarily. Do I recall ever seeing anything like that after seeing orbs? Um, I have had a what I thought was a ghost experience. If if you would like me to get into to that, which I believe was a screen memory. But no. Usually after witnessing an orb, I don't recall anything other than capturing or noticing the orbs monitoring me.
And how often are you seeing orbs?
So yeah, I was seeing orbs a lot in the beginning of the pandemic, and I've got lots of pictures of them. You see them in different spectrums. In the naked eye, one orb appeared to me as a light in my peripheral vision as I was taking picture of something else. And then when I get the picture, I see the white orb in the picture. It's not lens flare. I'm one of my biggest critics myself, and I have to be confident before I move forward with this stuff. And it appeared to my eyes as a light, but the phone picked it up as a white orb. So it just depends on the spectrum and the timing and a lot of things. But that's how they appeared to me, and they seemed curious because I was in a different location. I was on a roof working at a mall somewhere, taking a picture of a skylight that looked like a pyramid. It was shaped like a pyramid. And I'm all about ancient Egypt, and always have been, and with pyramids and things like that, always fascinated me. So I was just taking a picture of a pyramid skylight on top of a New Park Mall in Newark, California, and there it was. They were checking me out. They were there, just curious. I work at different gyms all over the Bay Area, and for some reason on the roofs of these gyms, I would see them more times than none. And a lot of times here around the house, in front of my neighbors, we're having a barbecue, and my doubting Thomas neighbor that I can't speak paranormal with is the one that actually said, "Mike, what's that light up there?" And once again, I look up and I see it, and I want to get my phone out right away and start, but I didn't want to embarrass myself in front of my neighbor, because I know that, he's not really into that. But here he is telling me, "What's that white dot just sitting up there?" And I have to get footage of it. And that's how they appear to me. They're interested in certain things. Like that moment, I think they like the fact that I was down there with neighbors enjoying a good quality time. And another thing is, I think they really appreciate it when they see the different races together and things like that. Hayward's a melting pot of all different races: Samoan, Black, Mexican, Asian.
Well, let's get to it, and we'll continue with the orbs and your paranormal stories when we return. Experiencer Mike Walker seeking answers for the UFOs and the experiences he has had. Spaced Out Radio continues with the second half right after this. Stay tuned. Wow, this show's flying on by, dude.
Yeah, it is.
It's a good one.
I think it's
a good one.
just enough time to get a lot of it, to get a lot of what I really wanted to share with you. It's a perfect amount of time.
Good. Good. I'm glad you're having fun. And I love
Yeah.
the fact that how descriptive you are. You're really painting a picture for our audience, which is awesome.
Good.
Yeah, man. All right. Let's hide that question. And if you guys have any questions in the chat room for Mike, put them in capital letters. I will try and get them to him when we return. Ayumi doll, how are you? Good to see you. Let's see, where are we with Dirty Filth here? W. Decker, how's it going, man? Thank you for the super chat, my friend. Appreciate that. All right, let's see what Dirty Filth drew for us tonight. This is where it's going to get good because all of a sudden, boom, there it is. And it's done.
Oh, wow.
A reminder, believe or else. Swamp gas and drones. That's a good one, Dirty. That's a good one. Alejandra K. Woohoo, that's my friend's dad. Go, Mike. Welcome to SOR chat. And don't forget, Alejandra, to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell for us if you don't mind. That's great art there, Dirty Filth. I'm gonna give you three. I'm gonna give you 3 claps for that.
3 claps for the triangles, right?
Yep, 1 per side.
Also, I am the 3rd of my name in my family.
What does that mean?
I'll tell you later.
Are you the 3rd? I'm the 2nd. Actually, I'm junior.
Is it capital
So
JR or just JR?
I'm capital JR. Capital JR. And thank you again, W. Decker, for Dirty Filth. That is an awesome piece.
Thanks, W. Decker.
Yeah.
And I like the poster that says just believe instead of I want to believe.
Yeah, I like putting little subtleties in the background there.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, it's swamp gas and drones.
It's always swamp
or
gas.
else.
You are so talented.
Hold on a second. I forgot to add the very last thing in here.
Is that the balloon with the satellite hanging? That's what I...
Hold on. What's he doing here? TIP?
A-tip.
A-tip. Yeah, there it is. There it is.
It's in there nice and small. Nobody will really notice it unless they look at it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I miss the Elizondo ones with his chin hair on him. I'm not going to lie.
He's all retired now.
I know, but I just miss the Elizondo chin hair, man.
I don't even have that drawing to show off anymore either.
I know you sent it to him, didn't you? Where he ripped his chin hair off?
Yeah, something like that. Put his shorts on. Strawberry daiquiri.
That one was brilliant. I remember that one.
Okay, I'm going to jump in the chat room.
All right. Hey, before you do that, we want to remind people that they could go on Amazon right now and get your great book here. And it is the best storytelling book of Filth's cartoons and SOR. Cryptid Cartoons, a collection of drawings for those of us that wear tinfoil hats by Kloos Midnar. Kloos. He prefers Kloos. And volume 1, it is absolutely incredible. And filled with cartoons that A lot of them made me laugh. A lot of them made me cry because they are just so phenomenal. So make sure you go and check it on out. Get it on Amazon today. And if you're coming to Las Vegas, May 19th through 21st for our Spaced Out Radio party, do yourself a favor. Get there because Dirty Filth is going to be putting a cartoon in each swag bag that we have for VIPs. So it's going to be absolutely amazing. Thank you, Kira ×2, W. Decker ×2, Pam H., Derek, Deb, Dry Toast, and Maggie for the amazing super chats. Very much appreciate the love and support. It's a great way to support what we do on a nightly basis. So thank you so much. And here we go, everybody, with the next half hour. We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. For the final time tonight, our guest is experiencer Mike Walker. He's out of the San Francisco Bay Area, talking about an amazing encounter he had with missing time and a UFO back in 1985. And Mike, you've also had paranormal experiences leading up to this as well.
Yeah. I had chalked it up to possibly being a ghost that I had experienced 2 years prior to 1985, which would have placed me at 10 years old. I didn't know if it was either a ghost that I witnessed or it was some kind of residual energy. But I remember waking up in the middle of the night and looking down on the floor from my bed. I had a 4-foot waitress in a diner. She was in a diner walking towards me with a plate of food, with an order of food. And this waitress was straight out of the 1950s, 1960s. So was the entire little diner that actually took up probably a quarter space of my room as I'm sitting from my bed, sitting on top of my bed, looking to the right of my room. This whole vision that I'm witnessing took up probably a quarter space of my room. So this waitress was walking down an aisle of the diner, and there was people sitting on each side of her. They were enjoying their meals. It was a busy diner. I can actually hear the multiple conversations. It was much of a mumbling going on. It was a busy diner. I can actually hear the forks hitting the plates. It was like I was there, but I'm in my room. And not only that, strangely, everything was actually in the form of snow, static, like the old school TV snow. Very detailed, but it was all static. And this waitress was walking towards me. She didn't look directly at me. Now that I reflect on the moment, if she would have looked directly in my eyes, I probably really would have freaked out. It looked like she was looking more through me. So I did holler out to my mother down the short hallway. And I remember asking my mom, Mom, can I come sleep with you? And she goes, sure, honey, come on. And then I said to her, but I'm afraid to step on this lady. And you know what? I blacked out.
Wow.
And so when I learned from another experiencer, when I was telling him about this waitress, because he was curious, hey, Mike, have you experienced anything else paranormal? And I go, yeah, I don't like to talk about it, blah, 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 because I always felt like it discredited, my UFO. And he said, go ahead, let me hear it. And he goes, now, Michael, why do you think that waitress appeared to you around 4 feet tall? And Dave, my whole body lit up in goosebumps. I've never thought of it that way. I mean, I have heard of screen memories and things like that,
Mhm.
but wow, it really made a lot of sense to me. And I still don't know for sure, but I think that that's probably more than likely what it was. Why do I tilt my way that way? Because it involved a blackout. And from what I've studied through other experiencers, I'm not the only one that has experienced, blacking out and, experiencing vortexes. I've got a friend that's watching us right now, that is experienced this. These vortexes are not just something I've experienced. Sometimes they experience these vortexes in their bedroom, in the walls. My friend Steve Q is watching right now, and he's experienced a vortex as well. But yeah, I never really looked at it that way, until my friend Neil Bowman, a fellow experiencer of mine, really brought that to my attention. So, all these years I've been thinking, my first UFO experience was in 1985, and it could have very well, been 2 years before that, maybe even more than that, even, you know.
Right. I mean, to me, that doesn't sound like a paranormal ghost at all. It
Yeah,
sounds like
I didn't wake
that
up.
sounds yeah, that sounds totally alien, man.
I
You
didn't
gotta
wake up the next morning and hey mom, remember last night what happened? There was no conversation. So it all kinds of adds up and starts to look that way. You know what I mean? It wasn't until years later that me and my mother are talking about this, and she does recall, me asking if I can sleep with her, but she doesn't recall what happened after that.
No, no, you had some aliens there. That's all I'm gonna say. You had some aliens. That's all good. So that's all good. I mean, have you ever experienced that since?
Nothing like that. Not the whole, visually, it looked like a hologram. You know, I'm like I said, I'm a Star Wars fan. It looked like one of them holograms, but just more of the whole poltergeist. They're here, that static, you know. And it was so detailed that I could tell that she was wearing 1950s, 1960s. When I was 10 years old, I already knew that, like, hey, waitresses don't dress like that anymore unless you go to one of these old school, diners where they're shooting to look like that. I've had some people like Dave Emmons. I was on the Dave Evans show, and he seems to suggest that was more of a time slip. So that I found that interesting as well.
Could
Um,
be. Could be.
yeah,
There are a plethora of different possibilities. That's for sure. Let's get to some audience questions here for you. I'll start off with Gizmo, and he is asking, Mike, do you see a lot of repeated numbers now?
yeah, I'm starting to see those now. At first it was 1020. My birthday's October 20th. 1020 came to me a lot. A lot of times I look at the clock. Oh, it's 1020. It's 1020. What's up with 1020? One day I looked up Ezekiel 1020 because Ezekiel started, appearing on my map, because he had witnessed the wheel within the wheel. And so I look up, maybe there's something with this whole Ezekiel 1020, and you look up Ezekiel 1020, and I find, a verse where he was at the river, and this is where he had his experience. This is where he was by the river Chebar with the other people that were imprisoned by the Babylonians at the time. And yeah, that's 1020 just started coming up. And then 444, I just spoke of the message I got from my latest experience is 444. This is kind of weird, but I'll go ahead and straight up say it. Was it yesterday or the day before? I was thinking of Ezekiel in my head, and I was just thinking something weird. I'll be honest with you. I was thinking, I think Ezekiel was a black person. I was like, because I question everything, everything that we're taught. I'm like, sometimes I think the Egyptians were black, and I was thinking, I wonder if Ezekiel was black. And then all of a sudden, I heard in my head 712, Ezekiel 712. I heard it in my head, and I looked it up, and it went with the times that we're at right now. It really went with what's going on today. Um, and it was a little scary, but it was kind of a reality check. It really does go with what's going on. But yeah, I see 1111. I see Kira had just donated $11.11. So yeah, I see these angelic numbers a lot now. I think a lot more because I'm maybe because I'm looking for them, but I still get the beautiful synchronicities of randomly seeing these numbers. Yeah.
For me, it's the number 513, and it's
Oh,
such an oddball number, but I had never seen that number before until my daughter was born in 1999, and that was her birth weight. Now, license plates, time, even my garbage can and my recycling bin have the numbers 513 on them. It is the weirdest thing. It is
wow.
513 has followed me ever since, and I can't figure out why.
There's a beauty to these mysteries, and it wouldn't be so fun. It wouldn't be so fun to know it all, right? No one likes to know it all. There's a beauty to these mysteries, and I'm not sure if I want to figure everything out. You know, um, yeah, these numbers, it's weird. You'll get something much later in life, and it just makes it that much better. Like, wow, that's why I was getting this number a lot. There was a message out there. And the more you see it, the more that I believe your spirit guides are proud. They're like, hey, this guy's waking up, man. Let's start giving him some more information. He's in the meditation. Let's start giving him some sacred geometry. Here's the flower of life. You want to learn more about life, read this book, so to speak. And then the flower of life would turn it from one synchronicity to the next. Here's a tree of life, the egg of life, the sea of life, and on, fractals and things like that. Sound, music, singing bowls, flutes, sound baths. These are all the things that has led me to meditation. It's led me to a much more cerebral place. And I'll be the first to tell you, I talk the talk, I rarely walk it. I've got plenty of things that I'm working on. There's plenty of things that I need to stop doing, but
For sure.
but I'm
Let's go
working
to
on it.
let's go to Michael's question here, and he is asking, "Are you artistically inclined too?"
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a bit of an artisan. I've always enjoyed art, not just drawing, but creating it, just creating things. So yeah,
Excellent.
absolutely. Not musically, um, but definitely artistic wise and creation wise for sure.
All right, let's go to Mac Geek. Did the UFO make any sound? Did you feel anything as it went overhead, like any hum?
No, not at all. Uh, the only thing that I could probably say is I felt probably a little bit cold or uh, like electrical when I was standing there at attention. When I was thinking that, well, hey, why am I standing so still? When I chalked it up to, hey, you just don't want to miss a second of this, Mike. That's all. And that's the only time that I kind of felt cold, but at the same time, it was like an electrical current, and it makes sense to me now, reflecting on it as an adult, that I was what they would call sleep paralysis, or I was definitely under the control. I remember that there was nothing I could hide, and there was no threat from them. There was no threat from me. Um, I really felt that there was nothing to hide and there was nothing to worry about.
Well, that's a good thing. That is a good thing, even though you don't know what really happened. Let's go to
Yeah,
Joe.
right.
Mike, do you care about the government disclosure of this phenomena?
Not really. It more or less concerns me because they denied it for so many years, and they made us out to look silly, or there was something wrong with us. And then when they finally do get forced to give us something about it, now guess what? There's something wrong with us again. And there's something wrong with anybody who comes in close contact with these UFOs. And that's not fair. Um, there's nothing wrong with us. Maybe there's something wrong with certain people that are told to go up and shoot them down with that kind of intent going on in your mind. I mean, they'll just shut us down, right? It's not magic. They just shut you down, just like they do our nuclear sites and things like that. They'll just shut it down. These damn kids, they found the matches in the backyard. We got to keep an eye on them. That's how I think they look at us. And I know that there's negative experiencers out there. There's negative experiences that happen. I hear about it. Trust me, I do. And sometimes I feel guilty that I have nothing but good to say about it. Maybe it's just what we, the games that we play in our mind, the cognitive dissonance maybe I'm just making this to be about all meditation, and maybe they're trying to make it all about, biblical stuff, and make me, think that there's nothing to worry about. So I could just keep, pushing, these words that this message that I'm giving everybody, just to keep everybody relaxed. And maybe this ain't the thing to do. Maybe this is just my mind saying, hey, look, this was scary, and the only thing I want to take out of it is good. But yeah, until I get regressed, I believe it was nothing has been negative about it, really, because it's led me to nothing but self-healing and just a sense of the power that we originally are supposed to have.
What have you learned about yourself going through this?
That I have a lot to work on, and that there's a lot of unlearning to do. That we really do need to think for ourselves. And I remember as a child, when you're full of that childlike innocence, there was a lot of things that didn't make sense to me, but I always thought, oh God, I'm just a stupid kid. What do I know? And now, as a once what do they call it? Once a man, twice a child. I'm at a point where I feel like I'm a child again, because I think that's that's what works for me, because my intuition was talking to me as a child, and I just listened to myself better, now. And when my inside child questions something, I listen now, because everything didn't make sense to me right away when I was a kid. Like banks, like, why would you put your money in a bank? Just keep it, oh, okay, I get it, interest and stuff. If someone breaks in your house, they don't take all. And look where it's got us, the banking and things like that, or the recess bell ringing. I would play these social games in my head. Like, I didn't like the way kids ran out the door like animals during the bell, during the recess. So I would stay in my desk and try to have some quality time. But I knew the teachers would approach me, and, I think I was trying to get attention and things like that. So I played a lot of like social games, because I was at many different schools. We moved and lived all over the Bay Area, sometimes even out of state. I lived in Lubbock, Texas. I lived in Bremerton, Washington on a naval base. I was in the Navy myself, stationed in Pearl Harbor, and things like that. I do remember doing what I believe was remote viewing when I was 21, when I was in the Navy. At the moment, I didn't know what to call it or what I was doing, but I kept popping into these random places, and sometimes people would see me and it would freak me out, and I would bounce out of there. I didn't know what I was doing, but I think that might have something to do with, I'm not saying that UFOs give you these powers. Like I said, I think we all have these powers, but there's a lot of things, an accumulation of a lot of things to keep us down. And it's a matter of use it or lose it. And if you're programmed to think that you don't have these kind of powers, I think eventually you just lose it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You lose it. I mean, what do you want to learn from all of this? Like, what do you want to learn about yourself?
Well, that's constantly going on. Being more and more honest with not just myself, but I think we are all tied together, and I think we all know what's going on a consciousness level. Call it the Akashic records. Call it. I think they call this by many names too. I believe there's family consciousnesses that you can tap into. But I think by helping yourself, by learning yourself, by changing yourself, you help change everybody, because we really are tied together. I know it sounds corny. Hey, we're all together. We're all one. You hear it all the time. And, you always hear it starts with you, all these things that went in one ear and out the other growing up, some of these things weren't lies. Some of these things weren't programs. Some of these things were truly from other human being hearts. And it's starting to make a lot more sense now. Here I am, almost 50 years old, and I wasted so much time not being so passionate about it. And now I'm learning. There's no regrets.
Do you want to have another UFO experience?
I do. It's like a drug, Dave. I'm telling you. I'm out there going, hey man, if I can just get one more experience, man, I'll change my ways. I'll go, full forward on this. And it's they're probably up there laughing like, damn, Mike. I mean, what else do you want? You know, uh, it's almost unfair. Like, Mike, we can't just keep doing this. I mean, what more do you need? It's almost like a sign of weakness if you're out there going, come on, just show me one more time. But I'm so hard on myself.
Well, I think that's a logical comment, because a lot of experiences that I talk to, myself included, are very hard on ourselves, because we still don't know how to react. We still don't know why. We still don't know anything about trying to figure out what this was all about.
Yeah, and it's like my first experience. I believe it was so dramatic that everything else after that, I'm left feeling, oh, I'm gonna need more than that. I'm gonna need more than that. You know what I mean? Because that first experience was just so much, and now I'm dealing with orbs. I wasn't impressed with orbs when I first seen them. When I started seeing people, I'm like, an orb, that's nothing. But yeah, now it's definitely part of the phenomenon. I get it.
Do you want to experience what you experienced again?
I would, absolutely. There's absolutely no regret. I just think
How would it be different this time for you think?
oh man, I would ask the right questions. I would treat Chano so much differently. And like I said, I wouldn't be so selfish with just trying to get a yes or no out of Chano. Um, I would have spent more time talking with Chano about exactly what he experienced. And if I talked to him today, I would ask him about the vortex. I would ask him about, any piece of the memories that he has. Because I know I more than likely have a piece of the memory of being on board this craft. I did get familiar with a section of this craft, but yeah, that's all I have. But yeah, definitely I would write the time, the day, so I don't have to guesstimate. I really wish that I would have paid more attention to my emotions and my feelings, all those things, because come to find out, after these people have experiences, there's a lot of weird things that happen after that, and I wasn't expecting anything else after that. But I did get the dreams that were visions. I've had quite a few of them. Some where I'm running from, a crashing flood and I jump up on Stonehenge. Some of these things I reflect on, I had no business seeing, or, in a dream as a 12-year-old. The wheel within the wheel, I didn't know what that was. So to me, there's something to it, and I need to look into it, and I need to learn as much as I can because I experienced it. I know that there's something to it. Me jumping up on Stonehenge, I wonder, why was it so easy for me to jump up on Stonehenge? I think it was just like too easy. And now it's like I'm thinking, was I a giant? Like, I was a giant. I was a giant running from a crashing flood. Walking a beach with beached whales. I mean, it was a beautiful moment that I'm having with my Aunt Cindy. I'm holding my Aunt Cindy's hand, walking on a beautiful beach. It was a beautiful day. The only thing, there was dead whales all over the beach. The meanings to these things mean different things to me at different times in my life.
I get that. We got about 20 seconds to go here. I want to say a big thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight, Mike, and sharing your story with us. Really do appreciate that.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
It's been enlightening. And, what's your, in 10 seconds or less, what's your memo to everybody out there?
Sometimes the hardest thing to do is to keep it simple. As an experiencer, we're prone to, addictions, alcohol, things that lower our frequency. As an experiencer, you need to just try to keep it simple, and don't get caught up in things that lower your vibration, because it's all about frequency. It's all about vibration.
Perfect. Spaced Out Radio's Hour 3, starting off with the Swamp Dweller, is next. Perfectly said right at the end there, man.
Thank you.
Perfectly said. Very much appreciate you, Mike. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, appreciate you too. Thank you, brother.
All right. We'll talk soon, buddy.
Okay. Thank you.
Take care. Good night.
Okay. Good night.
Mike Walker, everybody. How good was that? That was a fantastic interview. Fantastic interview. I'm going to take a quick break here. I will be back. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. I will be back here in a couple seconds. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. right, we got about a minute left, and then we're going to pop on back here. Oh, my. Did the chair move? Anybody? Did the chair move? I want to say thank you to Kira ×2, W Decker ×2, Maggie, Dry Toast, Deb, Derek, and Pam H for the amazing super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so much. And we very much appreciate you tuning in. Remember, we're selling VIP tickets until April 15th for our Vegas event. So you want to make sure you get in by going to Spaced Out Radio Network at gmail.com. It is on the ticker below. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hop on in. We want to see you all in Vegas. We got a great lineup of special guests, and here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Fote is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is time once again where we head to the swamp. Kicking off hour number 3, the Swamp Dweller takes us on another creepy journey.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. I have always loved the great outdoors. So when I heard about the Amicalola Falls State Park, I knew I had to go. I packed my backpack with all the necessary camping gear and set off on my adventure. The park was vast and absolutely beautiful, with brushes of lush greenery and towering trees that seemed to touch the sky. As I hiked more profoundly into the park, I felt a sense of calm and tranquility come over me. The only sounds I could really hear were the rustling of leaves, birds chirping, and my own heartbeat. I genuinely felt at peace with nature and forgot all about my worries momentarily. Then, the sunset began to go down and I realized I still needed to set up camp. So I found a spot near a small creek, pitched my tent, and created a little fire. I sat by the fire enjoying the warmth and cooked myself a small dinner of canned soup. As the nighttime fell and the woods around me became darker and more ominous, the silence that had been peaceful earlier now seemed to be almost deafening and overpowering. The wind started to pick up and the trees began to creak as if they were whispering secrets to each other. It was honestly some of the creepiest things I've ever heard, and I spent a lot of times out in the woods. I tried my absolute best to ignore the strange sense of unease creeping up on me. I settled into my tent, and I began to read a book for some time, trying to calm my nerves in any way as I could. But as the hours passed, I realized that I couldn't shake off that feeling that I was being watched by something or someone. I heard strange noises outside my tent, and my heart began to race. I began to hear footsteps approaching me, and I suddenly knew I wasn't alone. Now, I wouldn't have been that concerned if it were, multiple footsteps at a time, like a bear or an elk or whatever else might be out here, But the fact of the matter is, these were bipedal, and they sounded very deliberate, like they knew exactly where I was and they were coming straight toward me. I honestly tried to stay calm and reasoned with myself that it could have just been an animal or just another hiker. But the fear was overwhelming, and it was dark by this point. I peeked through the opening of my tent, and a shadowy, tall figure was lurking in the darkness, hunched over. I couldn't determine who or what it was, but I knew it wasn't human after some time. The figure seemed to be getting closer and closer very slowly, and I felt like I was being trapped. I tried my best to scream out, but it was almost like my voice got caught in my throat. This figure lunged towards me, and I suddenly blacked out. But again, when I woke up, it was morning and the sun was shining brightly. I couldn't remember what had even happened the night before, and I felt like I had a massive migraine. But I knew something wasn't right. As I started packing my tent, I had noticed my gear had been ransacked. Some items were missing, but I needed help remembering what they were. I hiked back to civilization, feeling shaken and scared, and I just couldn't shake off that something massively terrible happened. Obviously, after some time, I began slowly remembering everything that went on and that creature. But why didn't it kill me? Why did I just black out? And why did it seemingly just steal things from me? The ranger that I eventually walked up to and told about this was very skeptical and brushed it off as a bear attack, but I knew it was much more sinister. To this day, I still can't really fully explain what happened to me that night. I don't even know if it was a wild animal or something supernatural. But one thing is for sure, I'll never go back to Amicalola Falls State Park ever again, and you're damn sure I will always go camping with a freaking firearm.
And that's why we love the Swamp Dweller around here, taking us on creepy journeys each and every Monday through Friday night to kick off hour number 3. And, of course, if you want more stories, you can listen to them all for free by going to youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads. He's got thousands of stories right there for you to check on out. From the swamp to the stars, it is that time once again where we bring in little Timmy Senor and the UFO Report.
Nobody's gonna know. They're gonna know.
Tim, it's always interesting when we get things going here on the big show because, there's always UFO news that seems to be rattling around the old internet these days. And, could SETI be getting back into what we're talking about here? I don't know, man, but I have a feeling we're going to talk long and hard about this.
Well, I hope that you have the story because after my search, I never came up with it. So hopefully you managed to dig that one up. I have the other 3 stories covered, though. Hopefully you've got this one.
Well, what do you got? What do you got for us?
For my top story, we actually do have a story from Twitter brought to us by none other than the famous Jaime Maussan. And he's bringing us some information on a Gaza takedown of a UFO, stating that the Israel Defense Forces have released video of the moment one of its warplanes shot down a UFO over Gaza. And so connecting to the imagery, there's a short video that's provided that starts off stating that it is in fact an object that appears to be a triangle in shape, a dark triangle, immediately kind of taken down, if you will, and then destroyed, and the pieces of debris fall into what appears to be the ocean in this black and white video. And so they're talking between battalion commanders asking for permission to fire, and then once granted, we see that take place. So the interception of the aircraft took place, and the video is considered to be real video, but what is exactly it showing and what is the source? Still up in the air and quite questionable. And we know that Jaime has a track record of balloons occasionally, and maybe not being able to vet sources as well as some of us would like. But your immediate impressions, Dave, after viewing the video, I'm not sure if you're able to bring it up or not, but my description is pretty clear on what it is, at least for your radio audience.
Well, I mean, the idea that they actually shot one down, how truthful could this actually be? Because, I mean, wouldn't this make international news right across the board?
Well, I do agree with you there, but as we know, media handles the UFO topic in really odd ways, and somebody's UFO is someone else's UAV. And just with the switching of one letter, you have a completely different story. And so news doesn't necessarily travel fast when it comes to this. Now, it takes quite a while to vet a piece of information like this, but after viewing the video, I think it's pretty safe to say this is probably exactly what it says. But let's consider what, again, we are actually getting a video of. A triangle can be so many things. Nowadays, we know we have drones that shape, but we also know historically, we've also had massive triangle UFOs that potentially aren't man-made. So what are we seeing here? We're seeing something targeted and destroyed over the Gaza area. And that's about all we know, because it's very grainy, as always, and the source is questionable.
I always have troubles understanding anything by Jaime Maussan, who is a legendary journalist out of Mexico. But when it comes to this subject, I mean, you could put a bunch of alien dolls on a road somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and he's going to buy it as being authentic. It's been troublesome at times watching what he displays as UFOs or little people that have been found down in Argentina and Brazil. And I don't want to say that the guy is untrustworthy, because he has a great reputation in Mexico. But when it comes to this subject, he just seems to buy everything at face value rather than doing his incredible research that he does for other stories.
Right. No, I agree with you. But I also consider that he's a journalist from another part of the world where sensationalism sells and sells newspapers. And coming from that journalism is usually the report everything and let the audience consider what they want of it. And that's just another way to report. And I don't really mind that way. I was okay growing up with, and I say growing up because that's just since 2019, but my UFO knowledge started, by watching things from him as well. And it taught me what to watch out for in the media, and I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned by his body of work. And so when he does bring something of value, and also he brought us stuff from the ISS and stuff from, some near misses that could have been UFO and things like that. So we know some of his, footage has been valid. So I can't throw out the baby with the bathwater when it comes to this. So we'll have to wait to see, how valid this is and what it pans out to be. I hope, it's pretty recent. It was just a release today. So at some point, I'm sure people will come forward with perhaps a little more information on it.
Well, I hope so. I hope that it does come through, because we definitely want to see something big happen regarding UFOs. But I'm not buying this video that's out there.
Right. But consider for a moment, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Jeremy Corbell comes out with videos like this all the time, and we can't get enough. So, we can't just discount this just because it's coming from Jaime. If this had come from, Corbell or the Navy for that matter, our eyes would be all over this, just because it is, military video.
And I'm not saying that as a shot at Jaime. I'm saying that as if it was something this drastic and this large, I do believe that it would be mainstream all over the place, across the United States, across Canada, across the European nations, everywhere. This is why I have troubles. It reminds me of those Facebook CGI videos that had like Saturn appearing in the sky, and they'd be like, "What is this? What is going on? Watch this video before the government takes it down." I mean, this is what I'm hearing from this video. Okay, I'm not saying that he didn't do his due diligence, but something that large where a military aircraft actually shot down a UFO, I just don't think it's right. I think it would be on every major newscast. Whether you like the mainstream media or not is irrelevant. It's the fact that it would be a mainstream story that would be on every newspaper, every internet site, and it's not. And this is where myself as a journalist, I put the red flags up, and I'm thinking, okay, if this is what it is, why isn't it everywhere? And it's not.
I think that's a great question. But even if it isn't what it is and it's something else, shouldn't it still be up there? Let's just say it is something mundane like a drone. Wouldn't it still be relevant information, and shouldn't it be up to the public's decision on what it is? The same way all the other recent drone takedowns have been made public that they could make public. So I'm just one of those people that give the public all the information that we can, and just take it at face value, and almost take it blindly if you can. Like, don't even look at the source until the end, perhaps after you've made your consideration, just to be fair to the material. But at the same rate, I totally understand what you're saying. If this was real, if this was something to be considered, even if it was drone, we don't know if it is real drone footage, it would be mainstream. But consider again that no one really wants to report on this right now, right? It feels like it's really a hot button topic. Anything that comes out is totally scrutinized. It becomes directly under fire by our president. It's got his interest, right? So I just think it may be one of those things that the mainstream media has other things to cover right now, as we know. And I'm not even going to bring up the Orange Man at this point to discard that, but it just all happens at the same time. And you're like, wow, it's all just trying to distract us. And it's so well timed.
Well, let's move on to another story here, because I want to get to this story about SETI. Now, this story came out yesterday, so it's after April Fool's. And it says, a coherent radio signal has been detected from an alien planet, suggesting it could be more likely to be habitable. And the signal suggests that the planet has its own magnetic field, which is thought to be central to sustaining life in a particular world. On Earth, our magnetic field helps protect us from the high energy particles and plasma that are blasted from the sun. As such, any alien life is likely to depend on being protected by a similar field. But until now, researchers have struggled to confirm whether distant rocky planets have magnetic fields of their own, and therefore have found it difficult to say how likely a planet might be able to support life. Now, the new candidate, YZ SETI B, a rocky planet that orbits a star about 12 light years away, which realistically isn't that far, has sent a repeating radio signal that comes from the star and seems to be affected by the planet. The radio waves the researchers detected from the planet appear to be generated when the star interacts with its planet's magnetic field, because the two of them, one second here, and of course, this is where the story is going to mess up here. Where am I here? Because the two of them are so close together, the new candidate is an ideal pair to test theories about whether those magnetic fields could be detectable at such a distance. Researchers describe the effect as similar to the aurora borealis or northern lights, which happens on Earth when high energy particles from the sun interact with our planet's atmosphere. We're actually seeing the aurora on the star. That's what this radio transmission is, said Sebastian Pineda, an astrophysicist with the University of Colorado and one of the researchers who saw the signal. There should also be aurora on the planet if it has its own atmosphere. The search for potentially habitable or life-bearing worlds in other solar systems depends in part on being able to determine if rocky, Earth-like exoplanets actually have magnetic fields, says Joe Pesci, program director for the National Radio Astronomy Observatory. This research shows not only that this particular rocky exoplanet likely has a magnetic field, but provides a promising method to find more. The findings are described in a new paper, Coherent Radio Bursts from Known M-Dwarf Planet Host YZ SETI, that was published in Nature Astronomy. Tim, your thoughts on SETI picking up a signal?
I mean, it's exciting. It's really exciting. I mean, we know that we also had evidence that there's a Goldilocks zone out in TRAPPIST, like TRAPPIST-1 in the E through G zone. There's another like 40 light years away. This was only 12 light years away, so that's a much closer exoplanet to have found. So that is really interesting to me. It's bringing it a lot closer, and that just shows you that it's absolutely reachable. What I find so interesting is that it's SETI to have come out with this. And it's interesting to see that they weren't just using their initial technology to search for life. They've really, I don't know how to put it. They're looking in different ways, obviously, to have found it this way. It's really interesting. So they're noticing an aurora. Is that basically what they're saying? So that shows that there's a magnetic field, which means that there's potentially an atmosphere. So it's just, that's so great. That's interesting. I never would have thought that that was the way we would discover it, and that it would be SETI to bring it forward. I know that your opinion must be flipped, or perhaps you're suspicious, Dave.
Well, I just don't trust anything that SETI says. Okay, they are. Yeah, this is what you were waiting for, and thank God we only have about 90 seconds left before we take a break. We may continue this afterwards, but you know, SETI has been a NASA program looking for radio waves and potential other life forms way out there in the solar system. And for 40, 50 years, they've only come across two signals, or a couple of signals. This one being the latest, the first one being the WOW signal back in the 70s, 80s, which really, really seemed to draw a lot of conclusions that there might be something more out there. But this is a group of astrophysicists that have been looking for life on other planets and haven't found any, but seem to really, really underestimate the UFO community in regards to what's being experienced here, with people seeing strange craft, people experiencing UFO contact, ET contact, so on and so forth. And being a government agency that tied to NASA, and we've seen the jokes that NASA has played over the last year in playing shocked that there are UFOs being sighted around, and we have called them out ad nauseum on that. I just don't trust anything that SETI says. I'm not saying that they didn't find a signal. I'm pretty sure they did, but does it really matter? They haven't found anything in 50 years. Tim, I'm going to get you to hold on. We're going to continue this conversation about SETI when we return on Spaced Out Radio. The UFO Report with Tim Shenor happens a few times each week. We love it when our resident Timbit comes on to talk about everything in the stars. Spaced Out Radio's final half hour returns right after this. Stay tuned. Mr. Cowley. Dun, dun, dun. Welcome back to the show. Dun, dun. Oh, Mr. Cowley. Dun, dun, dun. loves his spaced out radio. Yes, Mr. Kelly, I know they found a lot more. I just don't like giving him credit. I don't.
Hey, at least we know it was Joe Pesci.
Yeah.
Writing his paper over there, YZ SETI.
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit more.
You're not going to let it go.
Dave Walters. I've got this giant apple upstairs calling my name. Dude, this thing is like this big.
Only the apples in BC talk.
I had one last night before I went to bed. Dude, it was phenomenal. I like a good apple. This was a good apple.
As big as your head, you say?
No, about there.
Wow.
About there.
GMO, baby. That sounds like a GMO.
I don't care. It's good GMO.
GMO.
Mo.
It's just everything's big up there, right? Everything. You guys just grow stuff large.
Dude, you should see the greenhouses around here. Crazy. Not where I live, but in my old hometown. Oh, greenhouses everywhere. Hey, Bialza Brad, good morning to you. Why does it say chat disconnected? Please wait while we try to connect you.
That's not good, but I'll tell you this. There's tons of greenhouses here in Oregon too, but it's all cannabis. All of it.
Yeah.
They don't grow apples in greenhouses.
I hear you there.
Those Godians. And yeah, mushrooms now, legal. So that's a thing. Yeah, when I heard that mushrooms were going to be legal, I was like, what?
Yes.
It's going to get interesting because the drivers are already really bad here. Drivers on mushrooms, oh, that'll be fun. How are you going to prove they're on them? I don't know. Are we going to talk Skinwalker Ranch and Travis Taylor tonight?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That guy. Good.
We'll get into it, man.
And I dragged MUFON back into our stories for the night. So if we get to my last story, we get to talk about your favorite organization.
Stop saying that I don't like it.
No, I said your favorite organization. We've been there together. You spoke there. You killed there.
I did.
It was awesome.
I did. You know what? Let's just be honest. I did.
Yeah, it was great. You should MC there.
Oh.
Just my opinion. I had a blast there. Everyone's so nice. Oh my gosh.
YJ says Tim and Dave should do mushrooms on air one night so they could kick in about halfway through the show. Oh my gosh.
What do you mean we should, YJ? What do you think? How do you think we get through these shows? We just, I'm just kidding. YJ gets it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we were supposed to do an April Fool's joke. Did you get his email?
Did I?
You did.
No.
YJ, don't let him deny that he got that email.
I never got the email, dude.
Huh. I should have forwarded the one I got from him. It was a good one, YJ. YJ had a secret April Fool's joke for your audience.
Oh, man.
And I forgot about it, YJ.
There you go, Tim. Way to screw it up, buddy.
I dropped the ball.
Way to screw it up, bud. Good job, Timmy.
You see how that
Yeah.
unfolded right here on radio?
Routine grounder to third base. Tim picks it up and fobbles the throw. Doesn't even make it to first base. All right, here we go with the final half hour. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with the UFO report. Our main man, Tim Senor, our resident Timbit, is here. We're talking about SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, that picked up another signal from outer space. And Tim, thank you so much for being here, my man.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
Oh, you are welcome. You are welcome. All right. So the big debate with SETI is, would, after their almost 50 years of searching the skies for any sort of lifelike signal, that they actually are catching something? You know, they've been going at it for years. They still say they haven't found anything. In the meantime, while they're looking up, the UFOs are flying all around them, picking up regular people like you, like me, are having experiences. Many members of our audience having experiences, but not to SETI. That doesn't exist, you know. And I always found it funny, and I know this doesn't really have anything to do with the topic, but Seth Stoshak, who used to run the SETI program for NASA, is one of the biggest critics and heels in the UFO world, basically saying, if we haven't found it, there's nothing out there. And yet, he was one of the early additions to Avi Loeb's Galileo project, which is all about aliens and UFOs, or so we're led to believe. Your thoughts on that, man?
Well, I think that he learned something after collaborating with Mr. Loeb. As you know, Mr. Loeb has a saying that extraordinary evidence requires an extraordinary funding, right? And so understanding that now they're collaborating suddenly, and I'm imagining the conversation that took place behind doors, obviously, between Avi and Seth, something along the lines of Avi saying, Seth, if you want to provide the reasons for people to want to spend money on your project, you're going to have to come up with some evidence on your project. And I think the result of that was a scramble to find something that was relevant to the topic to express his need to continue SETI and the program that it's now working on, because we know that NASA is pulling its bootstrings up and tightening on budgets because they're trying to get to the moon. And we know that collaborations are usually for a reason. And so my guess, and of course this is conjecture, that discussions behind closed doors were more along the lines of how can we move things forward with these organizations without expressing some results. And so perhaps these are some of those results that they're hoping to express the need for further budgetary needs.
Well, we're going to see. We're going to see. And you know what? The idea that I have, or the impression that I have from SETI, is that they have played this game long enough, and they have been politicized long enough and funded long enough where they probably should have found something by now. A lot of people may not agree with that, but with the amount of UFO sightings that have taken place if we just say in the United States or North America, for anybody to have any disbelief that there is nothing going on out there that is extraordinary is very tough to take. It really is tough to take, because we really don't have a timeline or a fixture of what's going on. What we do have is we do have an understanding that there is something very, very interesting that is happening to a lot of people through their sightings, through their own how can we put it, their own experiences that they are having, Tim. And to be denied by a group like that is kind of interesting, if you ask me. SETI is supposed to be there for the people, researching all of this stuff. If they really haven't done well by the people, for the people, and then again, considering that they are, a part of NASA, NASA hasn't done anything to help straighten out this UFO mess at all. NASA could be a prime leader in this, but they haven't done anything. They want to play UFO games instead of allowing Rudolph to fly the shuttle or fly the rocket and find them aliens.
Yeah. I mean, that's a fair statement. And NASA has been pretty disappointing. And their statement that they were coming out looking for evidence was really a kick in the face. And to also consider that they have access to all of the astronauts that went up into space for them that had experience. They have a plethora, if you will, of stories that are by our best witnesses on the planet, in their opinion, that have evidence, if you will. I mean, their stories, although their stories, I think, would be considered evidence. So it's funny that they're looking to their own archives to prove out whether UAP and UFO exist or not. I find that absolutely just ridiculous. You're absolutely right.
All right, let's move on. What do you got for us next?
I've got a great story actually coming from Visions 13 on Skinwalker Ranch secrets that could change science and technology for humanity, says Travis Taylor. And so the phenomenon happening at Skinwalker Ranch is using non-human technology to create dangerous spikes in gamma rays, claims scientist Travis Taylor. And so he was speaking on a podcast prior to April 18th launch of History Channel's fourth season of Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch. And he explained that what we're measuring are spikes in the gamma rays. We took collaborated instrument out there that would measure the spectrum of gamma rays, and they were at 511 kilo electron volts. So what that means is the frequency of gamma rays or X-rays that happen when you have antimatter and matter colliding, when you have an electron and positron, they blow up and they create these gamma rays. So that doesn't happen anywhere except in atom smasher or big particle colliders. So the fact that it happens at such high levels and in such high localized spots is not necessarily technology that we have. And so it's not something naturally occurring necessarily also, and it's not from technology they've heard of. And so they're considering it something unique. And so what they were seeing also is that several times they'd had to evacuate an area because the radiation level got too high. And so here's the phenomena occurring that was really unexplainable and beyond physics. And what he was understanding was potentially a whole new regime of science and technology. And so this is pretty intense stuff. And if you listen in further on the podcast, he explains that he himself suffered radiation burns and radiation sickness shortly after being localized with radiation, standing in a group of other people. He was the only person that received this high 511 kilo electron volt charge. And this made him ill, and he had full-on radiation sickness after this. So kind of some new results and some new potential technology is what he's hypothesizing here. Now, Travis Taylor has been with Skinwalker Ranch going on for now 4 years, and he was part of what we now know was the UAP task force. So this is considered somebody that's in the know on this topic, and he definitely has the technology to back up what he's talking about. So kind of interesting. This is out in the Uinta Basin. I spent a summer out there. And Dave, it is pretty interesting to think that there could be something that has focused, localized gamma ray technology, beaming, if you will.
I think it's impressive. I think what we're going to see coming out of Skinwalker Ranch is great, and the information that's out there is going to be startling at times like this. I mean, look, we've heard of other people who've had close encounters with UFOs come up with these radiation detections or burns on their own skin. I mean, look at the famous case from 1967 at Falcon Lake, where Stefan Michalek had radiation burns all over his body regarding that UFO that took off in front of him. I mean, we could be seeing more and more of this. I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet at Skinwalker Ranch, my friend.
Right. Well, I can tell you what, if I ever get another chance to be in the same room as Travis Taylor, I am not going to make him mad, because we know what gamma rays plus man does. He's going to turn into the Incredible Hulk right in front of my eyes. Gamma ray technology, right? And he was hit. So
very much so.
He was a scientist too, remember? The whole thing. It's all...
Are we surprised that this is now coming out, or are we to believe that this is the first time that this has happened at Skinwalker Ranch?
It's not the first time, in fact. And so I believe it was season 1 where one of the people that work on the ranch, I think as security or as a researcher, was hit with something that gave him a large issue with his brain and his skull. And I'm not going to get too technical because I don't remember exactly the medical situation, but it does seem like that area potentially does have some kind of radiation going on there. Now let's consider it's also downwind from explosions that were nuclear testing that took place 60 years ago, roughly. And so you're talking about an area that could potentially have little localized areas where radiation has left a trace. And if you get too close to that area, it can make you sick. Now, I don't know that, but, maybe. And I think that even Travis Taylor considered that, but he felt that with the detection equipment that they had out there, that wasn't what was making him sick. And I think he ruled that out, in fact. But again, consider that you're just downwind from some massive nuclear explosions. Many nuclear explosions were tested up there. So residual, even if it was 60 years, we don't know what fallout looks like and how it can react to human beings. So maybe it's something anomalous like that and explainable, but maybe it's something else like what he's saying, which is some kind of high technology and focused gamma ray technology.
No, I think you were absolutely right on that. And let's get to your final story of the night. We got about 7.5 minutes.
Okay, that sounds great. And so we're going to talk about the MUFON director's message. And so MUFON's journal is actually free this month. If you want to go to MUFON's website, you can go ahead and read their journal for April. And included in that is a message from the director. And so I'm actually having to click here for a moment, but bear with me while I just go down here. And so this is coming directly from David McDonald. And what he's wanting to do is and I'll just quote, "I would like to use the April message to tell you about some of the many accomplishments MUFON has made in this last year and to date." So membership applications continue coming in, sometimes at the rate of 30 to 100 per day. And so it's the highest applications ever. The app sales are incredible, and UFO mapping application has been named #1 app in the mapping and tracking category by Google. It is being sold in all 50 states and 32 additional countries. So Project Aquarius continues to grow as UFO groups from foreign countries hailing from South America and Europe have called to offer their files to the project. A10 and MUFON met with over 150 members of Congress and committee staff. They have been invited to present at the Senate Intelligence Committee, and they helped to shape legislation in both the 2022 and 2023 NDAA. They earned a Dear Colleague letter of support to advise the ARROW and the DIA, and that letter had a bipartisan support. They have increased press coverage in all major media outlets, such as Ancient Aliens and other TV programming. And they have been asked to supply Congress and the Senate with quarterly statistical reports, and additionally supply special reports and white papers as well. So both Representatives Andre Carson and Tim Burchett have spoken at the MUFON Symposium. They have briefed House and Senate intelligence in SCIF, which is Sensitive Compartmented Information Facilities. And in the past 12 months it's been quite an adventure for MUFON, and they continue to be a world leader in UFO UAP investigation and research. But the amazing thing is it's been accomplished with an almost all volunteer force. So the wins are yours. And he says, thanks for making MUFON great. Happy Easter. A lot of accomplishments.
Well, there are a lot of accomplishments when you play the government game. I'm still not fully sold that this is a proper way for MUFON to be handling things, but I think they are trying to gather their team together and trying to bring more focus to it. It's funny because I've talked to a lot of members who are not happy with what's going on right now, but they all have this attitude of there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do. We're just here, and we're going to continue to do our jobs, and hopefully we can make things good for MUFON and do what we can. Whereas the board of directors seems to be extremely off pace with what their researchers are doing at times. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying, but I also see potentially a director that has his eyes on a pretty massive goal, which is to let this massive body of data help sway some opinions up on the hill and to help inform people on the reality of this topic. I mean, he's got a lot of clout when it comes to connections, obviously, and he has this massive database that I'm sure is pretty convincing that there's something going on. You and I know. So let's consider the flip side of the coin here, that this is massive and that they're using major media outlets to get the word out. They're supplying Congress. They're briefing the House and Senate intelligence. I mean, I feel like if anybody is going to do that, it should be the people that know the truth. And ultimately it's from the witnesses. And so if they're truly doing what I'm hoping they're doing, which seems like they are, then perhaps they're informing on the reality of the UFO topic and that it's massive and that it's worldwide, because they also have a massive global contact. MUFON is global. And so I know that you're very much on the other side, potentially, on some of these topics, not on all of them. I know you are a MUFON supporter, ultimately. But this does get into some pretty touchy subjects, because do people want their personal reports being used or not? Something to consider. However, I think it strives for change for the better, personally.
Well, it's going to be one of those wait and see approaches. Okay, it really is when it comes to MUFON. And like I said, I have a lot of friends within MUFON who are very good people. And, the investigators and the state directors, shouldn't be held accountable for a lot of the politics that has happened with MUFON over the years. And, you know, they continue to impress. They continue to bring great work. You know, I just don't know if a lot of the MUFON members are educated into what the board of directors is actually doing and trying to accomplish. I'm not sure there's been, I mean, Tim, we talk about transparency on this show, and you know, we've kind of been throwing some knives and some ninja stars at Enigma Labs about their lack of transparency. I don't know how much transparency MUFON is actually having with its membership regarding this. Anybody can write a beautiful Heidi Ho neighbor type of monthly newsletter and tell everybody about how great life is and how blue the sky is coming into spring with the sun shining and rainbows all over the place. But did anybody ask, or did the board members ask for their new member who happens to be a lobbyist in Washington, D.C.? That wasn't voted on because the membership has no say under the current contract, even though there are many who believe that they do. Just nobody has pursued it legally. And so I think there's a divide in MUFON, but we don't know how big that divide is or whether it will ever come to fruition or whether or not the membership will stand up to it. Tim, I got to say a big thank you to you tonight for another amazing UFO report. It's been absolutely great in regards to it, man. And continue your great work, man.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. It's always fun with you, little Timmy Senor. and we want to say a big thank you as well to our good friend Swamp Dweller for another great spooky episode from the swamp. And then, of course, Mike Walker coming on in, detailing major UFO experience that he had growing on up. I mean, that's always difficult to talk about, but it's a good one nonetheless. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Spreaker, the Space Travelers Club, LinkedIn, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us. Because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. Timmy. I put out the call to random guy. I don't know if he's going to make it here.
Did he go to sleep again? He's always going to sleep.
I don't know. I mean, in the end, what is sleep? What is sleep?
Waste of time.
Yeah, although I like a good sleep.
There it is. I knew the bear would reveal his teeth.
Oh, man. I slept all weekend, man. I had 2 naps yesterday. 2. It was awesome.
Double nap is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
You deserve double nap.
Powered it.
That's great.
Powered it.
Yeah. I've got a new couch set going on. I think I
Nice.
might have mentioned that delivery went really funnily. It was hilarious delivery. But the whole family loves it, and they've all spent like a solid 8 hours sleeping on it at one point.
Is it a nice sectional?
Oh yeah, it wraps right around the room.
Beauty.
Yeah, I might even have to film from there one night. I'll stream from there, just so you guys can see my dog and how much she loves it.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, I was gonna see if we could get RG's take on some of what we were working on tonight, and if he would talk a little about what we'd also talked about offline. I don't know if we can or should. What do you think?
Well, we apparently have permission, but I know he was waiting to hear from somebody.
Yeah, that's why it would be cool if he dropped in.
You know, I mean,
he might still be untying his shoes from work.
Do you want to send him a text message and ask him if he can come?
Let's do that.
I sent him the link.
Usually he jumps right in when he gets the link.
Yeah, well, we're not priority anymore.
My face.
We were priority.
Dude, my phone does not recognize me with headphones on.
I have that at times. I tried doing that. Yeah, I can't say.
I get it. Yeah.
Or even that apple, man. I might run upstairs and grab that apple.
I want to see this apple. Just bring it down so I can meet it.
All right, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get this apple, man.
Run up there, and I'll drag RG on if I can wake him up with some really annoying texts. It rings a bell every time, so hopefully it wakes him up. Derek Galloway throwing some laughs. Love it. I don't think that's a cigarette he's smoking in that apple. But you know what? Between you and me, audience, Dave's wicked boring. He doesn't smoke weed or barely drink or anything. He's Yawnsville. I mean, maybe you can pull his leg for a cocktail, but yeah, he doesn't smoke weed, just cigarettes. What do we got here? If anyone wants to drop a question while Dave goes and gets that apple. Oh, here's the apple. It's massive. It's as big as a Timbit. Look at that. Hold it up next to the camera. Looks just like my head. Put some headphones on that apple. It's probably as interesting as I am.
Timbit here. Hi, I'm Tim Senor. This is my size of my head.
You got the shine. You definitely got the shine right.
I'm bald too.
Oh, and it's got seeds that'll kill you. Love that. Just like me, seedy. That's great. I can't seem to wake him up with my annoying texts. I don't know. I hate to disappoint your audience. Should we just...
Well, I got to be here no matter what, so.
So, yeah, you know that they picked the crew for Artemis, right?
Including a good Canadian kid.
You do know. All right, well, good.
Yeah.
I think it's exciting. Are you excited for this moon mission or what?
Oh, hold on. I think my audio just went on me. Hold on. No, we're good.
I think it did.
You know what? In a way, I'm excited. But in a way, it's kind of like knowing what's hiding out there. And, you know, apparently YJ had a question for you. Tim, have you stayed apprised to the upcoming NASA moon orbiting mission?
Just what's in the paper. I mean, yeah. I'm excited. I'm a NASA geek, of course. Let's see. Actually, I did get a little something from RG here. He's nights.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, his toes are curled up, and he's officially Z.
That sound.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can. Do you want to kick it off tonight, or should we just do it on Friday?
Hold on.
Or Wednesday? Dave eating an apple. Good radio. You're actually eating Timbits right now. If that was.
I'm not gonna lie. It's a good apple.
Timbits is a good apple. I've been told that. I've been told that.
Yep.
It's good to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. If you want to leave, you can leave. I gotta be here anyways.
Okay, I wasn't sure. So let's save it for our next show then, shall we?
Sure.
That works for me, buddy.
We can do that.
Bring up some Africa, because that makes your audience all happy.
Make you happy if I bring up a little bit of Africa.
Thank you so much, chats. It's been fun, and I'm gonna sign off. I'll see you guys next time. Have lots of fun. Give Dave a hard time for the rest of the night, though. Don't let him off easy, because he's Canadian, you know.
Timmy. Well, let's see. We can have Oryx. Well, they're boring. Let's go to Old Donio, see what's happening there. Wow, nothing. Let's go to African Tau. Nothing. Except some birds. Let's go to Tembe. Nothing, although it is looking a nice lush green right now. What else we got? Naledi, Cat Eye. Nothing. Oliphant's River. Still a lot of water in it. See what's happening at Rosie's, Pam. Got anything happening there? Oh, we got a giraffe. We can play that. Hold on. Finally. Share screen. There we go. There we go. Bring that bad boy up. There we go. Look at that gorgeous giraffe. Timmy always leaves early, man. You should know that, Oob. You got me. What more do you need? You've been listening to me for almost 8 years. What more do you need? You get me and the giraffe. And I'm eating an apple. Hey, Big J. Oh, God, YJ. I have no idea, dude. No idea. Who knows? Maybe we've already had that. Don't know. Cranky oob. Hope Lola bites a hole in your sock. Damien K, what's going on? I couldn't find it, Joe. Human Carl was here earlier. Oh, that little pond doesn't have gators. It did have a hippopotamus in it for a while. That seemed to disappear. Good morning, voice of the gods, Mr. Eon. How are you, buddy? Hey, my body, ever since I got back from San Francisco, and the most uncomfortable flight home, I feel like I needed either a massage or a serious chiropractic. Oh, there's zebras in there now. There's zebras. Yay. Now don't be walking away there, giraffe. You got stuff to do over here. Come back. Stop. Thank you for stopping. Heard me. Oh, now it leaves. So what else is happening at the pen now? Nothing. So what else is up, guys? Honestly, to Mothman, it's a great apple. It's really sweet. I was going to eat it later, but Tim wanted to see it. This is Africa. We haven't checked that one. Well, hey, those are rhinoceroses. Cool. We never get rhinoceroses. Sweet. Oh, check it out. There's like a giraffe way over by the trees, too. There's two of them there. That's awesome. That is just awesome. I'd love to go on an African safari. Either way, we still have never seen rhinos on here. No wonder the giraffes are staying away. That's awesome. You imagine the UFO skies you would get there? Deb, I would like to see them all. I don't really have a favorite. I just like to see them all. Probably a cheetah or a lion. Like to snuggle up with one of those, even though it'd try and kill me. Mm-hmm. Hey, Life 101. Yep, Rhino. Um, I'm getting rid of the YJ regarding my Jeep. I'm getting rid of the roof racks that are on it because previous owner put those roof racks on, and I can't put my top down because I have a soft top. I can't put my soft top down with that on, so I'm taking those off. I've already got a light bar on the front. Haven't got anything on the back yet or on the sides. Don't know. I have to now that I've got it all out of the snow, I have to try and make sure that I have enough safety gear and everything in there that's all set up properly. And having a Jeep, there isn't a lot of room, but I want to make sure that I got a shovel and I've got matches and fire starter and warm blankets and everything in there, kind of all set up just in case we get stuck out there, right? So will my Jeep make it through the watering hole? This watering hole? Probably. But it's running good, though. That's for sure. It's running good. It's probably got to get an oil change here pretty quick, but yeah. So I don't have a winch on it. I was debating whether or not to put a winch on it or not. But in case I'm not doing any hardcore 4x4ing. I'm just not really into that. It's going to be a trail road type of situation, and if I need to move any trees, I'll have my chainsaw with me. So my chainsaw goes everywhere with me, and I'll have an axe or a maul with me as well. It's a 2013 Jeep YJ. Actually, What do they call it? Jeep Wrangler, not a YJ, sorry. It's got about 45,000 miles on it. 71,000 K. Is that about it? Convert kilometers, miles. About 44,000 miles on it. Good. Should be good. That one's going. Now this one is going. Yeah, I am ready to go out there. I just got to get, like I said, I got to get everything set up and comfortable in there the way I want it, and make sure that there's enough safety stuff in there. Oh, the drafts are moving in. Very cool. That looks kind of cool. The reflection of the drafts in the water. That looks really cool. But I did do, I don't know if I told you, I did do up my Jeep last year when I got it. I did do up, I did a 2.5-inch lift with 31-inch Falcon tires. I probably could have went 33, but 31s suited it pretty good. Okay, I'll be right back, people. I'm gonna have a bathroom break. right. Sorry about that. Share that. Go away. That's done. All right, everybody. Tomorrow night on the show, Geraldine Orozco is back for The Spiritual You, which we are going to have an amazing, amazing time with her as per usual. So tune in for Geraldine tomorrow night. And big thank you tonight to Kira ×2, W. Decker ×2, Maggie, Dry Toast, Deb, Derek, and Pam H. for a wonderful night of Super Chats. We really do appreciate it. I'm going to say goodnight. I'm going to bed. You should too, or hang out, whatever you choose. But thank you for tuning us in. And don't forget, we want to see you all in Vegas, May 19th through 21st at the Golden Nugget Casino for our second annual Spaced Out Radio Fan Party. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.